afternoon, and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. It is my pleasure to be with you. Thanks for tuning in to us. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. Director Matthew is back. Good to have him back. Starting to get the team back together a little bit at a time. We are on YouTube today. If you want to watch the show, you can. Always online where you can stream the program as well. Of course, you can listen via traditional means with the radio. It's always a good thing. You can also email us if you like, jcs at 979espnradio.com. I'm on Twitter at jcameronshow. You can use the WTSM app as well. Obviously, as we begin today's show, it's for me, frankly, it's a difficult show to do because I am cognizant and always mindful of what's going on around us in our world today. All of you are. I'm not saying I'm special in that way. But when you take seriously the protests that are happening and institutionalized racism and the subsequent abuse of African Americans that we've seen over the years and the protests that stem from that, then there's an awful lot to take in and ponder, an awful lot to contemplate and think about in terms of your role. I'm not going to preach to you, though. Everybody's got to do that on their own, and hopefully they'll do so with love in their heart, and they'll take the time to consider their words and their actions, all of us. And certainly there's an awful lot that weighs on the soul as we enter into today's show. But I also know this. I also know that a lot of you responsibly are doing that on your own and that you're thinking critically at a time like this. And, wow, it's a wild world we're living in right now. And sometimes that requires a little bit of escapism. You don't certainly want to shirk your responsibilities as a citizen and as a member of humanity, but I get it. I get that sometimes you need a break from the seriousness of the day. You need a moment to kind of come down and let your mind wander and have some fun, whether it's a lighthearted conversation that you have with a friend or a family member, whether it is a movie or, in this case, a radio show, whatever it might be. You need an opportunity to kind of take a step away, and because it gets to be too overwhelming. There's a sadness that we all feel right now, and it can be as a result of over 100,000 people that have passed away due to the COVID-19 coronavirus. It could be what we're seeing in the streets of America. It could be joblessness. It could be any number of very weighty subjects, I understand. And for that reason, I do want to provide opportunities for you to laugh, for you to think about things that matter, but not nearly as much as the things that I just mentioned. And sports falls in that category, and we care about sports, and we're passionate about it. I'm also somebody who's mindful of the fact that this is an entertainment program. I certainly will spend time on any number of serious issues and have over the years, but I also try to be cognizant of the fact that you're hopping in your car, and it's been a tough day, because right now it's a tough day for everybody. And maybe, just maybe, you need to laugh a little or to think about a game for a few minutes. Think about something other than the sadness that permeates a lot of aspects of our lives right now. So I'm aware of that, and I will effort in the coming days to do exactly that. You'll hear some of what I think about any number of things, and hey, listen, you'll agree or disagree. That's the nature of the show regardless. But you'll also have a good time. You'll also be able to laugh a little. Let me first say this, though, too, in addition to those thoughts, and then we'll get into some Florida State stuff and sports in general. I would say I'd really appreciate, I try to remind myself of this. I appreciate you guys who listen to this program, men and women, children. I meet so many of you over the years in days and weeks and months that while we do this show, I don't take it for granted. And I greatly appreciate the fact that you have supported us for all these years. And, I feel very fortunate. I'm humbled and absolutely honored that you take the time on a daily basis to listen to me and Tom yuck it up and to enjoy this show and get your Florida State fix or your sports fix or whatever it might be, or whatever loony story I go into next, right? And again, I don't know if I say it enough. I try to, but I'm not sure that I always do. I don't want to be overly sentimental or sappy. I'm aware that as I age, and I'm nearly 49, you guys do know my birthday is June the 11th. Anyhow, that said, I understand that I am inclined to get a little bit more sappy and a little bit more emotional with the years behind me and the perspective that's gained with it. So it can be tough. I mentioned before that young Matthew is back, and he is a father now, and it is good to have him back, and we congratulate him publicly as I have privately. But it just feels good to have the team back together again. So you guys will be doing shows all week except for tomorrow. How's that? Sorry. Can't do a show tomorrow. It's my youngest son's birthday, and I'm going to Georgia. He is with his grandfather currently. We're going up there to pick him up and bring him back and to spend the day with him. We're leaving tonight. As I do this show now, I will tell you that if things break, if significant things happen around the country that ordinarily would require me to make an announcement or at least acknowledgement of what's happening while we're live, I may not be able to do so. I had to come in early today and meet Tom because I'm traveling to Georgia later this evening. And so a lot of this show is going to be taped today. It is Monday. I am here now. I am doing the show, but it is most of this show is going to be put in the can, as they say, because I have to travel, and I wanted to get a show in after all that's happened over the weekend. And I also know that we took Friday off. So what's going to happen is tomorrow I'm off spending the day with Clark, who turns 10. I can't believe it. Neither boy in single digits anymore. And then we'll be back with you live on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. So just one day that I'll miss this week. But I wanted to get a show in there for you today. And I also, we'll talk throughout the day. But I'm with you if you're distracted. If your thoughts are elsewhere, believe me, I get it. As we venture into some of the absurd topics and/or sports conversation, I'm very aware of all that is going on and what might be on your mind right now. And again, I'll talk about it when the time's right. But I also know that you need to be entertained and to escape, and that sometimes you turn to this show to do that. Forever grateful that you do. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
Best interest in mind, and I can tell you this is most certainly the case at Orange Theory Fitness. As a member, I like to take classes 4 days a week, bare minimum, and I ventured back over to do some training just as they opened this week, and I can attest to the steps taken to ensure your safety. Well, they're extraordinary, frankly. I doubt you can find a hospital as clean as Orange Theory Fitness is currently and will remain dedicated to being. So if you're concerned, maybe a little unsure, well, that's okay. But just know Orange Theory Fitness is open once again and is 100% dedicated to ensuring you get back into shape safely in an environment you can trust. Give Orange Theory Fitness a try today or check them out at orangetheoryfitness.com.
The staff at Cigars of Tally knows how boring it can be socially distancing. So in order to help, they are delivering the cigar experience directly to you every day from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's right, Cigars of Tally delivery services. Call Cigars of Tally Lounge and Bar at 850-727-0085 to place your order. Or come by 926 North Monroe to choose from the largest humidor and selection in town. That's Cigars of Tally Lounge and Bar, 850-727-0085. 850-727-0085. Get your ash in here or delivered Certain restrictions and delivery fees apply.
The good folks at AAA Tree Experts in Landscaping say it's time to prepare your property for hurricane season. It's crucial to have trees inspected before a hurricane. Removing dead or hazardous trees and limbs is your best protection against property damage. Don't be reactive to the weather. Be proactive. Have your trees professionally trimmed or removed before it's too late. AAA Tree Experts in Landscaping has been providing tree inspection, trimming, and removal in our community for over 30 years. Call AAA Tree Experts in Landscaping at 385-3319.
On behalf of my good friends over at Bumpus Local 349, I wish to let you know, hey, the patio is open and the drinks, they're flowing. Yes, they're operating at 50%. They're practicing social distancing for your safety, of course. Bumpus Local 349 invites you to enjoy the Wingman Special. 25 wings plus 2 orders of fries and a bucket of ice-cold beers for $38.95. That's next to nothing. And by the way, if you're more comfortable, curbside pickup available all day, every day at Bumpus Local 349. They also sell your favorite alcoholic drinks to go as well. So that's an idea. Call 850-999-8562 to place your pickup order, or for deliveries, you can contact Bite Squad. It's Bumpus Local 349. Remember, eat local, drink local, and be local.
Attention Tallahassee, Phase 1 is Phase Patio at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill will be serving up the coldest, crispest refreshments and their signature delicious jumbo wings, all while adhering to responsible social distancing. You know this is the best time of the year to sit on the outdoor patio or deck, so make the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill on Appalachia Parkway your first and most frequent stop for Phase Patio. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Order takeout today at cptallybar.com. That's cptallybar.com. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Games for Less, the only locally owned and operated gaming store in town, has Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used video games and game systems. The future of video gaming is at Games for Less, where they have both the PS4 and Xbox One. It's time to trade in your old systems and elevate your gaming experience now. Games for Less is also your headquarters for the best in retro gaming. Atari 2600, original Nintendo, Super NES, or Sega Genesis, you name it. They got it at Games for Less. Games for Less, the Super Walmart Shopping Center on Appalachia Parkway. Give them a call today at 850-219-3535. That's Games for Less.
The Florida Lottery has awarded nearly 900,000 Bright Future scholarships and counting. That means Bright Future scholars are everywhere.
They are doctors,
teachers,
Scientists.
even artists.
They are shining in every field imaginable. And every day, more students are preparing for their moment in the spotlight. With Bright Futures and the Florida Lottery.
The Jeff Cameron Show is brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness, science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-inspired. 2 Tallahassee locations. For more information, head to orangetheoryfitness.com today to start your journey.
I didn't think I'd, because I haven't enjoyed, and again, I understand some of the absurdity of talking sports at a time like this, but I also understand that we're all reading, watching, learning, hopefully educating ourselves throughout the days and weeks that have gone by as protests occur, and as we contemplate what's going to happen in our country and what to do next. We do that throughout the course of the days and weeks, and so some escapism, admittedly, into less serious topics might be why you turn on this show. Now, also, I've never been one to not talk about things that are happening with current events, and so certainly we'll have our moments where we address that. We're not going to ignore it. But at the same time, I'm not going to spend 3 hours here talking about what you're already reading, seeing, and thinking about in the other 21 hours, or at least the 17 in which you're awake. So I get it. It's tough. It's a balancing act. I just want you to know where we're coming from. It can be difficult because I do have opinions on this, and I have thoughts on this, and some of you will want to hear those. Some of you will not. Some of you are the stick to sports guys and gals. Some of you are, no, man, I listen to you and I have for years, and I don't always agree with you, but I want to hear where you're coming from, and that's fine too. I do the show the way I do the show. I don't really adhere to anybody, suggestions, frankly. And that's not like a, moment of bravado or anything. I just don't know any other way to do it. You have to do it from the heart. You have to be authentic. You have to do whatever you feel like doing, because people will see through it otherwise, and they'll know you're faking it. So when I start these segments and we're getting into frivolous things, such as viewing habits in the sports world while sports remains somewhat dormant, it's not lost on me that that feels a little frivolous, feels a little empty, feels like it's not as weighty as it normally is when things are going along and we're all doing well and the country's doing well. We can really lay into sports, right? We can really get into the topics of the day about a contract here, or whether or not somebody is going to trade this player, or who's going to win this big game that we're all passionate about because we love sports. We do. You're here because you love sports, and I'm aware of that too. And so I'm trying to find that balance. Bear with me in the weeks to come. I'm sure it's going to be difficult. There'll be days where perhaps I spend too much time on sports, and days where I don't spend enough time on sports. But in that vein, let me say this. Some of the time that I spent over the weekend not contemplating much more serious matters. Some of the time when I wasn't doing that, I was listening to old games. And, whether it's a Sirius XM, who you might think is a direct competitor, but I also work for them, or if it's on your television, whether you're watching MLB Network or any of the ESPN Classic stuff, or whatever it is you're doing to try to just escape for a little while, just to kind of rest your mind a little bit. It is interesting. I didn't think, because I don't know if you have, Tom, we've talked some about it. The only sport that I've been able to watch that really allows me to sit back and invest for an hour, maybe 2 hours, is baseball. Old baseball games. I can watch 1994. I can watch 1979. Excuse me. I can watch 1983. I've watched different series, different playoff games, different years, different milestone moments for players, whether it's Cal Ripken's breaking Lou Gehrig's streak, consecutive games played streak. I watched that when it happened live, but I watched it again the other night. It was on, and there were things I didn't remember about it, and it made me smile a little bit. Of course, I watched when they replayed the Pirates World Series victory over the Orioles in '79, watched the '86 Mets. I've watched a lot of different games, but nothing really captures my attention outside of baseball in the way of nostalgia that I find engaging for a prolonged period of time, where I can sit on the couch, watch a game, and invest in it. I can't do it with football. I haven't been able to do it with football. Not even Florida State games. Florida State games that I lived and went through, or whatever they might be. I just haven't wanted to go back and reinvest in that. I haven't with, the Bucks. NFL Network's shows I've watched a lot of. They do a very good job. Football Life is fantastic. We've documented that and talked about that over the years. The Lance Armstrong thing on Sunday nights I'm watching. I'm enjoying that. He's insane, but I'm enjoying that. But in terms of actual games, there hasn't been anything I could sink my teeth into. And I was running an errand on Saturday. I stumbled across a game between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. It was a bedlam matchup, obviously, the end of the year, from 2007, I want to say it was. And I was riveted listening to the radio call of that, hearing it was Oklahoma's network. And then I realized they were going through on all of the network stations. So if you have the ACC network on Sirius XM, or you have the Big 12 or all of those stations, they're all doing it. So you can find games from the SEC, the ACC, any of the leagues that you want to hear games from, and they're usually classic or really good games. They're not putting on like the ACC freaking network on television will throw you 37-3 games. I don't want to see that. I don't care about that. They were uninteresting when they happened. I want to hear the riveting moments of the biggest games that have happened in the last 30 years from the radio call. That I can listen to. I could sit on a porch maybe with a tasty beverage, a cold brew or something, and listen to a radio broadcast of Miami, Florida State from 1987. I can do that. I'm finding that is more interesting to me. But for some reason, watching these old games have not been. Listening to them actually grabbed me over the weekend.
Yeah, I think the best program for watching football on TV is NFL Network's Greatest Games, and it's an hour-long special, but what it does is it shows you the context around the whole game, and it's very much an NFL Films style presentation.
Yeah, they do a great job. Yeah, I saw Cleveland and Denver.
And the cool thing about it is I think that they objectively capture the context of the game. Like, so is a coach on the hot seat? What's the history between these two teams that might date back in the previous 4 or 5 regular seasons before they played the playoffs or something along those lines? Super Bowl tie-ins between the two franchises as they meet. One that I saw was the 2002 wildcard game where the 49ers come back and rally on the Giants. And it was, I think, a 24-point deficit. It might have been 21. But the 49ers come all the way back with Jeff Garcia as the quarterback. And we're talking about Mariucci replacing Bill Walsh and how Mariucci's in the hot seat and Jeff Garcia replacing Steve Young, who, oh, my God, the hit that ended his career, I forgot how incredibly violent that is.
Is that the Arizona game where he lays motionless? Yeah.
Yes, and the clip that they showed was from the end zone. So you get, and it's a zoomed-in angle from the end zone, but you're on the ground and you feel it. Yeah. Oh, my God, that was crazy.
Well, I'll say this. Watching the NFL Network, and that is different than what I was talking about with the radio broadcast, you're right. Getting into the NFL Network stuff is very good, and it gives you perspective and angles you don't always hear or see, and you certainly heard from players. I remember when that hit happened to Steve Young. And, of course, we didn't have the hyper-focus and intense interest in headshots and concussions that we have now. Concussions were described the way a torn meniscus is described. You know, concussions used to be, Troy Aikman's not playing this week. He suffered 3 concussions in the last 2 games. He's going to have to miss this one. And nobody said anything else about it. Like, oh, well, he needs to take a rest. He's got his bell rung. That's how
bell rung,
right.
Dinged.
Yeah, euphemisms. We're always just, that's what it was, you know? And nobody said, like, I don't know if that guy's going to be able to speak when he's 50. Nobody was concerned with that. And so, you know, it's just a matter of, could you think clearly? Can you see? Was your vision affected? You know, one of the problems with concussions and why they go through the concussion protocols now, obviously we know the effect of repeated concussions and subconcussions and all that stuff that happens that leads to CTE. But one of the problems is that you can feel fine. You can have a concussion and a week can go by and you can feel really good. But until you crank up the body, until you force the body to become uncomfortable through physical activity, you don't know how the brain's going to react. So walking around the house, you feel fine. In a film room, you might feel fine. Sprinting, running, avoiding, being tackled, all those things change the body's dynamic. Heart rate comes way up, all of that. And players then do these concussion protocols, and they run on a treadmill. They get their heart rate way up, and then a lot of times those guys find out it makes them dizzy. They suffer from headaches and blackouts, and they really struggle. They have nausea. And so until you can go through those workouts and really, really exert yourself and show you're not having any symptoms, they don't let you go back out and play. None of that existed back then. It's crazy. Yeah. None of that existed. Those guys would go back out there, subconcussed, suffer another one on top of that one, and this is why you end up guys, you know, they're eating peas when they're 50 and they can't form a sentence.
Well, the crazy part about the Steve Young thing is in the aftermath of the hit, he's just not moving. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah, he could be dead.
I mean, he's as close to motionless as I've seen in a situation where a quarterback gets hit, and that was a time where you saw a bunch of them. But still, it was particularly jarring. I enjoy that program because the game is the game. You're right. And, like, what the hell do I care about the 49ers rallying to beat the Giants?
Right.
The next week they travel to Tampa and we beat their ass anyway on the way to the Super Bowl. So it's not like it was some great victory for the Giants for the 49ers that put them on the road to the Super Bowl. Right. It was just a really cool story about a comeback in a playoff game, and here are the circumstances around it. But you're right. I have a hard time watching football. I like watching Knowles games I've never seen before.
Well, yeah, I can understand that.
And I like, there was something I hadn't seen before also that last week I watched. It was the 87 Canada Cup between Canada and the Soviet Union. and it was the greatest collection of talent on an ice sheet at the same time. And even though the sport of hockey looks very different now than it did in 1987, you could still appreciate what the hell happened. But also, I've got to admit, I'd never seen it before. So, I mean, if I had,
Yeah, if you'd seen it before, you might not.
I probably wouldn't care to watch an Olympic gold medal game or a world championship final game. Like when the U.S. won in the mid to late 90s, it was like 96 or 98. Remember that world championship? I mean, the nation was watching that in force. It was in the summer, and it was U.S.-Canada, and they played twice in that tournament. People watched that in droves. I remember that as a kid. The United States won. It was incredible. I don't care to watch that again. Like, who cares? I've seen it. Been there, done that.
It's always weird to me. We bring it up frequently on the show. The only times in which our age difference it really comes out as it pertains to sports and what we were thinking at that time and what we watch and don't watch or got into and didn't get into. Two times.
When the doctor says you have to go through a certain thing every year.
Yeah. No, so when I remember things from high school, I have to remind myself you weren't alive or that you were just born. So, like, I already know anything I talk about that happened pre-2000, Director Matthew has no idea. I already know that if I bring something up from 2003, there's a chance Director Matthew doesn't remember that in any way. 17 years ago. He's a kid. So I have to calibrate that when we're having a discussion. I'm not saying he hasn't read about it or understands the history of it, but I know he didn't likely see it. With you, I have to do that around where I'm reminded 86, 87, 80. I'm in high school during these years.
Right,
you're
right.
being born. You're 1 year old. You're 2 years old when I start talking about things from 87 and 88.
As LaDainian Tomlinson once said, a new birth was being born.
Well, and as Roger Clemens said, I misremember sometimes So I have to calculate that too. But the times where I notice that it really stands out, that it's hard for me to wrap my mind around, is that I'm long out of college in 1998. I've started my radio career in 1998.
I'm in middle school.
I'm in my career, the current profession in which I work. I've already started it in 1998, and you're in middle school.
Yeah, I'm ordering Charlie horse hits on kids who are beating up on my friends.
Right.
That's right.
That's right. You're a don of a rich white school which the greatest concerns are who's going to get a Charlie horse today. So, as ordered by the Don Tom Lang. So, I have to remind myself of that because 1998, that to me feels recent. Like I feel like 1998 just happened because every year we talk about this much more somber situation, but every year that the 9/11 anniversary happens, 2001, I'm blown away. We're rapidly approaching 20 years since 9/11, and I was on the air when it happened, live, doing mornings. And I can remember everything that happened subsequently. You can speak. I remember getting up out of the studio after finishing the show, racing down the hall to look at there was one television. It was down the hall where the X101.5 PD eventually was housed. And we had to go into that room, everybody did, to see the one TV that was there.
It's also a crowded building in those days, right?
Oh, every station had local programming. Every station had live hosts, morning and evening. You had 25 to 30 salespeople. You had a GM. You had operations manager and the manager underneath the operations manager and the sales manager. And you had, radio was a vibrant place over there at that time. There were, at times, I think there were over 70 people employed when I worked there. There might be 5 that work there now.
Wait a minute, Billy Bowe doesn't really live in Tallahassee?
So, I mean, it was a very different time. It was a vibrant place, but everybody packed like sardines into that room. I remember there was a training going on for the promotion staff, and they were at a hotel down Monroe Street that's still there, in a conference room going through a training. So I knew that my roommate at the time, Matt Britton, had no idea what was happening. And then when he pulled back into the station parking lot, I met him and went, dude, you're not going to believe this. Come here. And then it was the first he had learned of it. By that time, it was like 11 a.m.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So, it had hit the fan. So all of that was happening, right? Anyhow, these anniversaries and these moments where I'm reminded that you were in middle school or that game was played in 99 and that is now 21 years ago. The national championship that I went to and covered and watched and thoroughly enjoyed over Virginia Tech in the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans is now 20 years old, more than 20 years old. That blows me away.
Yeah, I guess that would have been, I think it was 7th grade when that went down. My parents let me stay up to watch that game as they should, and we were supposed to have a math test the next day, and my math teacher was Mr. De Blasi, the father.
Yeah,
of
Matt
De
Blasi.
Matt and Mike De Blasi, and Matt was my middle school baseball coach. Incidentally, he was on his way to Florida State soon, but he's pitching at Countryside High, and he was my baseball coach. So they were rooting for the Noles in force, the De Blasis were, and the next day, Mr. D said, no math test. We're all good, folks. We're going to push it back a couple days. Mr. D enjoyed the Noles championship celebration, and he was a really strict teacher. I didn't understand it until years later. I'm like, oh, Mr. D was hungover.
He was feeling it.
He was feeling it.
Yeah. He had a big
What
moment.
a game, everybody. Thursday. We're pushing it to Thursday.
So all I'll say is this. I talked to my brother up in New Hampshire, the one that is a retired air traffic controller now. And he does this thing. He was doing this before COVID-19 and certainly before what's happening now in our country with protests and all that's happening. He loves to go sit on his back deck and listen to baseball games. Listen, not watch. He'd prefer to listen to a baseball game. It does lend itself to that form of broadcasting. But he's doing that again. He's sitting outside listening to old games. And you can find all these things online. I hadn't done that in a long time, and I did it over the weekend, and I did it with football. That's where we started with this. I did it with football, running errands, driving around town. I was blown away by how riveted I was. Just an offering for those looking for an escape. Let me just put it that way. You can do that. You can sit back and listen to a game. And I do find it interesting. Listen, Gene Deckerhoff is a legend, a Hall of Famer, and a friend. I know Gene well. But I've heard all of Gene's calls probably, it seems like a million times, either when they actually happened. And those days, my dad and I'd go to games. You put the headphones on and you listen to Gene while you watch the game. I mean, it was a different time.
Why were those devices always yellow?
I don't know.
But they were. Without exception,
yeah.
Giant yellow headphones.
I don't know. But we did. And so I've heard Gene's calls, and I remember listening to the games when they weren't on television because Gene, we had the call on. My dad would I remember listening to a Florida State East Carolina game that was wild in the 40s, not the 1940s, Tom, but the scores. And we're listening to the Gene call that and just all that stuff. So I actually do like to branch out. And now that you have access, that is one of the things that's really cool about the internet. And there are so many derisive things about the internet, but this is cool. I mean, the archiving of games and easily accessible broadcasts from 1984, 92, 57. It's awesome to go back and listen to whatever sport it is. You can do that, and you'll notice certain trends of the time, too. The broadcasting styles, but also the updates. It is so bizarre to listen to a game in which I went back and listened to a 2004 Answer One Mortgage pregame show that I hosted with Eric Llewellyn. And Brian Willard is doing the score updates back in the studio at 1270. Matt Millar is producing the show. And Eric Llewellyn and I are talking about some surprising scores from around the country. And we are stunned that Alabama leads Auburn. Where it's shocking development as Auburn trails Alabama. Then there's this moment where it's Lou Holtz's last game as coach at South Carolina, and Clemson leads South Carolina. And I think Eric says something like, boy, that'd be a big win for Clemson. They just don't beat South Carolina. It's like you realize how different. And the number one thing that blew me away, Ohio State is leading Michigan. And Brian Willard gives the score and says, in a shocking development, Michigan, number 7 Michigan, is trailing Ohio State. Like it's a shameful thing to have happen.
There's an extra layer of that, too.
Of course, he's a
his
Michigan
voice.
fan.
Yeah,
but Ohio State, I believe in the moment, is unranked.
You know, this is a good time while you're talking about that to pick up on Wikipedia the Michigan State or Michigan-Ohio State rivalry, and I could just go through how many of the last 15.
It's bizarre. Well, we've done this before, Tom, where we sit back and go, holy moly. I mean, but it's just, one of the things that it does, and I think it helps you now as a Florida State fan. And we've already had to do it. Oh, yeah, it's going to be fun. Go ahead. Hold on. I know. I can see you laughing. I can see you laughing. It's disheartening, isn't it? Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay.
One of the now, unless you're a Michigan fan, the two of them are in there just laughing aloud. Unless you're a Michigan fan, this is what I'm about to say is true. Okay? Things change in a hurry. Things change. Rivalries, there's an ebb and flow, right? Things are cyclical. It comes back around. Eventually, it's going to be your time again. We had to do that already at the end of the Bowden era with Florida dominating the way it was.
Yeah.
Urban Meyer, everything looked like helpless. Jimbo came along, and all of a sudden, it was Florida destitute, in the gutter, embarrassed, coach faking a heart attack. Florida State dominating on their way to 29 straight wins in a national championship, right? And now here we sit on the wrong end of losses to Florida and Miami these last few years.
We had the Bohica. Damn it, Jimbo.
Well, here's the thing that sucks is we've lost the last 3 to Miami. Those 3 would have constituted 8, 9, and 10.
Yep.
That would have been the Bohica.
Mm-hmm.
Look at those sorry Miami teams.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Look at them.
Yep.
That won those games. They would have, if we were even remotely efficient, we win all 3 of those going away, and it is Bohica, platinum on that ass. But no, a dream was shattered.
Oh, yes, it was.
Michigan, Ohio State, please.
Okay. Since the year 2001, Michigan has beaten Ohio State twice. 2003, 2011. That's it. Ohio State still hasn't achieved the Bohica of platinum status. They're on 8 right now. But Michigan has beaten Ohio State twice since 2001.
God, that's got to be tough to stomach. You get to a point where the lopsided nature of that result gets too much to overcome. It's like a fat person taking that first step. It's like, I weigh 450 pounds. My ideal weight, according to the doctor, is 200. I got to lose 250 pounds. Where do I begin? That is the Michigan fan right now looking at Ohio State. We've lost 18 of the last 20 to Ohio State. How am I ever going to turn this around?
And we hired Harbaugh a while ago, like a long time ago. And we chased Urban Meyer out of that job.
Just remember, Michigan fans, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. Try to win a damn game. 1. Can we start at 1? Jim, can you win 1 time against Ohio State in the next 3? 1. You're 0 for as of right now. I need you. I know you're 0 and 5, but I need 1 in the next 3.
Florida State basketball has as many ACC tournament championships
as Michigan does have wins over Ohio State.
In the last, 30 years.
Yeah.
As Michigan has wins over Ohio State since 2001.
Yeah, it hurts your feelings a little bit if you're a Michigan fan. That's tough to wrap your mind around. Come on, fat man. We can't climb Everest without that first step. You got to take that first step, baby.
It's the guy. You're going to be the guy in the PSA. Remember, he drops to his knees and his knees are bleeding?
That's right. And they're sweeping up all around
That's
him.
who they are.
Yeah. It's just be the fat guy who makes it across the line.
Got to be the custodians cheering him on.
Yeah.
Cheer him on.
1 time, guys. Woo.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
As we celebrate Earth Day at home.
2020 marks the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, and there are many things TLH can do to celebrate at home. Get inspiration at tlhcando.com. Small actions create big results. A message from the City of Tallahassee Utilities.
Hey, welcome to this Subway ad for the new club collection. How do you want it?
I'll take a book club.
Absolutely.
So, last week we sunk our teeth into Subway's meaty new release, the Steak Club.
I didn't finish it yet.
Oh, not again, Sandra. This week, it's the new Southwest Chicken Club, also by Subway. No spoilers, but there's a tasty twist.
Jalapeno cheddar bread and guacamole?
Sandra, get out. Subway, make it what you want.
Good ending.
Limited time only at participating restaurants.
Oh yes, you've thought about it, but now it's time to enjoy the moss-drenched live oak, rolling hills, and pristine greens of Southwood Golf Club. Our friends at Southwood Golf Club offer individual, family, and student memberships, and now offer the all-in membership. That's right, never pay a card fee when you play. Don't forget, at Southwood Golf Club, it's not just about the golf. Hit the clubhouse for brunch, or maybe enjoy trivia night, live music, happy hour, and all-you-can-eat night specials too. For membership information or to join right now, just call 850-942-4653. Southwood Golf Club is ready to make you a member. 850-942-4653.
Cigars of Tally is your one-stop shop for everything cigars. With 2 convenient locations, Cigars of Tally is here to serve you. The 1401 Market Street location is right off I-10 and great for travelers and after-work stops. The Midtown location, Cigars of Tally Lounge and Bar at 926 North Monroe Street, is great for those winding down from a long day. With the largest humidor in town, affordable cigar lockers, a large covered patio, and private conference rooms, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Cigars of Tally, open 7 days a week. Need cigars? Get your ash in here.
Hey guys, how are you? This is Eddie from Gordo's Restaurants and Bumpa's Local 349. I just want to let you guys know that we here in the local community love to have you back. It's 25%, we know, but we're doing the best that we can to serve you and do what we do the way we do it. Same great food, a little bit more space. And we're not the only ones. There's lots of local restaurants out there. Just remember, eat local, drink local, be local. Come see us.
Not all law firms are equal, so here's why Fonville Lewis Mesher McConaughey was recently voted Tallahassee's best law firm. First, we only take real cases. If your car was barely bumped and you think you're going to get rich, we're not the firm for you. We limit our practice to serious cases with legitimate claims. Second, we only take cases involving real injuries. If you know you aren't hurt but think you can fool your way into a quick settlement, we're not the firm for you. We encourage our clients to heal up and get better, not sit on the couch and expect a windfall. Third, we don't want clients who are just in it for the money. If the very first thing you think of after getting hurt is calling pound something or other on your cell phone instead of calling 911, we're not the firm for you. Your health should always come first. And finally, we won't blow smoke about a big money outcome just to get your case. Other firms overpromise and underdeliver. Our only promise is that we'll work harder than anyone to get you the best result. Remember, the law firm you have representing you makes all the difference, so don't settle for less. Call Fonville Lewis Mesher McConaughey and let us put our reputation to work for you.
Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Studios in Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show. Brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
A moment ago, and Tom knows how my mind works as it pertains to college football streaks and lopsided affairs. I tend to trend towards some of the awe-inspiring failures of the Tennessee football program over the last 20 years. On a lot of levels. I've brought them to light over the years on this show. I don't know why I started doing that, because I actually don't have any great hatred for the university. I don't care about Tennessee. They should have never won the 98 title. They all know that. They know that if Chris Winkie plays, we win by 3 touchdowns. It's not a competitive contest. They know it deep in their heart. But beyond that, I really don't have a thing. I root for them to beat Florida. I certainly root for them to beat Alabama. I've been to the stadium, seen a game there live, watched Reggie Cobb run crazy. I like Knoxville. The Volunteer Navy's a cool thing in terms of pregame festivities and tailgating. But I do, for whatever reason, take enjoyment out of the ineptitude of Tennessee football. I think it's because it's the contrast of, Tom, 100,000+ people piling into that stadium every week to watch them suck. I think there's something funny about that.
Yeah, looking around like,
why are we still doing this?
Why are we doing this?
I do the same thing when Michigan's done any good. Like, man, you guys have been rolling on there in Ann Arbor, 100,000 strong, knowing you're not going to win a damn thing of any consequence. Over and 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 over again. You go into the big house knowing you're a team that lacks significance. Historical context, yes. Current significance, no. None. And Tennessee, 100,000+, same thing. Great fans. You know damn well you're not beating Alabama. You're not beating Florida. You're not beating anybody who's any good at all. Ever. Again and again and again and again, you pile into Neyland. Same results.
Hope our host's starting to get some players, though.
He is. He's cheating like he should have from the get-go, and I got to give him credit for that. I give him credit. He's dedicated to winning. And so maybe they'll turn the tide a little bit. Maybe they'll stem the tide. Sometimes you got to do what's necessary. Tennessee's probably willing to do what's necessary after their previous head coach built champions of life. They're ready to win some football games, championships in college football. They're trying to get that figured out. Now, I asked you, and you knew I would be thinking about it, so you pulled it up, and that is another sign of a great working relationship. What is Alabama's record against Tennessee in the same time frame that you just alluded to regarding Michigan's ineptitude against Ohio State?
Right. To refresh for those who are just hopping in the car, Michigan has beaten Ohio State since 2001. Michigan has beaten Ohio State exactly twice. Two times.
Dose. That's it. That's all.
2 times.
2 freaking times.
In the Tennessee-Alabama rivalry since 2001, Tennessee has racked up 4 wins. Twice as many as Michigan over Ohio State.
They've doubled up Michigan's wins against Ohio State.
You wouldn't think that the way that everybody props up that rivalry in the Big Ten.
I don't know, man. They're starting to not prop it up as much. You remember when we were always having to sit through the grand presentation of what a wonderful game this is going to be this weekend between the Michigan and Ohio State, to the point where the loser could still go on and they could rematch for the national title. Remember all that dumbassery? Yeah, they don't even try anymore. They're kind of like, okay, well, does Michigan going to keep it within 21 this year? Is there, they start looking at other angles now.
Sure, the networks are like, damn it! It used to be Florida State, Ohio State, Michigan. Like, holy cow, what an amazing Saturday.
You had a stretch where Florida State, Miami, Florida State, Florida were 2 of the greatest rivalry games that the country looked forward to watch year in and year out. You usually married that to Ohio State, Michigan, like you said, but also Oklahoma, Texas forever was really, really big. And out west, there was a time, fleeting as it was, where even USC and UCLA meant something. Hasn't in a long time. Neither program is of any significance. But when they were, that actually was a rivalry I looked forward to. I used to really look forward to Washington and USC because Washington had risen to power in the Pac-12, Pac-10 back then. Those were good times. But yeah, it's admittedly, Alabama, Tennessee, that was considered an elite rivalry. The only people that considers that an elite rivalry now are Tennessee fans and maybe Alabama fans, perhaps, that are of age, old enough.
I'm sure Alabama fans really enjoy that rivalry right now. Yeah.
They absolutely do.
Alabama's been perfect since 2007.
But so they made double Bohica them. Double platinum Bohica them. That would be. You got to retire the trophy if they double platinum Bohica.
Very quickly, in 2007, Alabama was unranked as it beat Tennessee 41-17 to announce they're back in starting to do some things. And then since then,
they announced it.
Since that point, Alabama's rank at the time of kickoff against Tennessee 2-1, 8, 2, 1, 1, 4, 6, 1, 1, 1, 1.
Tennessee's like, really? You got to be number one in the country every single year we play you?
Every year. Not a double-digit ranking for Alabama since 2008 when they played Tennessee.
It'll hurt your soul. I remember going into the stadium before the stupid Rain Tebow game where they acted like it was Braveheart and that was blood on his face and not paint. But anyhow, when we watched that, I remember walking into the stadium that day with the most helpless feeling in the world. And Florida's had that feeling, too, at home where they watched us roll in there in 2013 knowing Jameis Winston was going to drop a number on their sorry ass. But, that hurt walking in. I mean, both sides have been on the wrong end of a game that is a fait accompli before they kick it off. You have no chance to win the game, and you know it. You would need 18 turnovers to maybe keep it close. You have no shot, whether you're incompetently coached or outmanned or both, right? That's a bad feeling. And you shut your mouth, you grin and bear it, you figure it's the price to pay to enjoy the wins, right? You can't enjoy the wins and the fruits of the labor and the crescendo that builds over the course of winning a lot of games in a season, eventually leading to a national title, unless you've suffered the defeats, unless you've been at a dark place, as I used to describe it, in the alley, while Wake Forest walked by and gave you a kick to the belly knowing you were incapable of getting up and doing anything about it. That's a toughie. Blindly drunk, kicked out of your neighborhood, being laughed at, scoffed at by the likes of Boston College. That'll hurt you. But the revenge tour was made all the sweeter because that happened. And you relished it that much more. So if Tennessee and or Michigan ever flip this thing around, can you imagine?
Oh.
I got to be careful here, but I have to tell you that when it becomes apparent that Tennessee is once again going to beat Alabama, that it's a foregone conclusion as the two programs have flipped somehow, or that Tennessee might beat Florida.
Also 4 wins since 2001 for Tennessee. Here you go. Here's
the
a fun
other magnificent streaks. Do you want to point out Tennessee has also only beaten Georgia a few times in the last 20 years?
I can check on that for you.
Yeah.
But here's a number that's going to bring some joy to your heart.
Okay.
I'm just going to give you the number. I know how you're going to feel about it. Since 1993, Tennessee has beaten Florida in Knoxville. 3 times.
Oh!
Since 1993.
Sadly, those who've lived short lives entered that stadium numerous times since 1993 and didn't get to cherish victory very often if they passed away, unfortunately, say within the last year or two.
98, 04, 2016. That's it.
Oh, you just shudder. But what I would say is that if Tennessee is to turn it around and begin to beat Florida on a regular basis, or Alabama, God forbid, and if Michigan, good Lord, big if Michigan is to turn it around and begin to get wins against their arch rival in Ohio State, you would be uncomfortable entering that stadium as a man. I mean, it would be as if you were walking into, unfortunately, like a stripper's paradise or something. You don't like sitting next to dudes. That's the kind of situation you're walking into if that begins to happen at those places.
So Tennessee has racked up actually 6 wins over Georgia since 2001.
Okay, well, Georgia wasn't very good until Kirby, really.
Yeah, by those standards, that's...
I mean, they had a nice run under Mark for a brief period of time there.
3 wins over Georgia and Knoxville since the year 2000. So there you go. They got 3 of them.
What, over Georgia?
Yeah, Tennessee and Georgia.
Since 2000.
Since 2000. 3 times.
Just 3 against Florida since 93.
That's correct. You can't do that in the 90s with Georgia and Alabama because Tennessee was owning that rivalry in that decade. But with Florida, yes, just 3 wins. So if you see one as a Tennessee fan at home against Florida,
it's like Haley's Comet.
On average, it's going to happen once every 10 years, 1 in 5 tries.
It's the Jeff Cameron Show.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
And I ventured back over to do some training just as they opened this week, and I can attest to the steps taken to ensure your safety. Well, they're extraordinary, frankly. I doubt you can find a hospital as clean as Orange Theory Fitness is currently and will remain dedicated to being. So if you're concerned, maybe a little unsure, well, that's okay. But just know Orange Theory Fitness is open once again and is 100% dedicated to ensuring you get back into shape safely in an environment you can trust. Give Orange Theory Fitness a try today or check them out at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Come visit the new and exciting Hangar 38. This amazing place is for everyone listening right now. Practice your bowling skills, compete, and have fun. Whether you're a newbie, an all-star, or a beer frame champion, no matter how you roll, you'll find the best place to bowl is at Hangar 38. Hangar 38 is home to over 75 arcade games, so they're sure to have something for everyone. Zeppelin's at Hangar 38 is a premier, full-service restaurant and sports bar, and it's also your place for birthday parties and company outings. Tallahassee, what are you waiting for? Come on out to Zeppelin's Hangar 38, 6668 Thomasville Road behind Walgreens.
Need help moving? 2 Men and a Truck Tallahassee provides professional home and business move services, both locally and long distance. For your next move, visit 2men.com or call them at 850-224-2232. 2 Men and a Truck, the movers who care.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
So this is how it happens, all right? It's a celebrity poker tournament, and if you thought to yourself that John Hamm enters a chat room with ham bone in the house, you'd be correct. I show up at the table. Cards are being dealt, but there's only one person betting. So what's happening is, as this moves around the table and everyone's time runs out, Stugotz just keeps getting the money. Every time he bets, the money comes from Stugotz. So he's slowly bleeding people who are having trouble getting in the room. And I'm on the Skype, and I'm watching these people, and they're saying, I'm trying to get in, I can't get in. And I'm yelling at Stugotz in the chat room, Stugotz, stop taking everybody's money. We don't know these people. And Stugotz's chip total ended up at 12,000 before the thing even got started, while everyone else was starting at 8,000 because he'd stolen so much of their money. And he still finished last.
The Dan Le Batard Show, weekdays at 10 a.m. on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Driving every day from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee. Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Studios in Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Thanks for tuning to it. Appreciate you being here. Certainly hope you are well, healthy, safe. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free always. If you miss anything, go back, get caught up at your leisure. You can always email the program if you like. It's JCS at 979 ESPNradio.com. Back on YouTube today, so see my ugly mug yet again. There you go. Let the light shine bright on this dome, baby. On Twitter, it's at J Cameron Show. And here we go. We get a chance to do this. We're always excited to talk to our friend Ira Schoffel, War Chant's managing editor. Here he is. Ira Schoffel, join us now on the Jeff Cameron Show. How are you, brother?
I'm hanging in there, Jeff. How you doing, man?
Doing okay, buddy. Doing all right. Obviously, we've talked a little bit today, Tom and I have. It's sports can seem so insignificant at a time like this, and they certainly are in the bigger scheme of things. But I also understand our role. I understand that we can provide an escape. We can, and not an escape from responsibility, but just a temporary escape from some of the things that can lead the heart heavy right about now. And so we're attempting to do our best today with that. But I understand before I even start asking you about practice time and transfers and all that your mind may be wandering as well. I know we're all in the same boat right now, but how you guys doing?
Yeah, man, we're good. We're just, it's same thing that everybody else is dealing with, is trying to kind of unwrap a very complicated situation. I mean, this obviously isn't like, one of those things where, I've had some people ask, like, from our site standpoint, or what's Jeff going to do on his show? And, this isn't, to me, it's not like a tragedy where, like, an airplane went down or 9/11 or something like that, where everybody can commiserate about the situation. This is such a complicated topic that really, you could do, if you were doing a topic-related show, not a sports show, you could talk about it for years and not get to any sort of resolution. So it's hard for our site or you guys or anybody to, you don't want to ignore it, but it's obviously so complicated that you really can't, it's hard to even acknowledge what's going on in our country because we don't have the time to or the expertise to really delve into it.
Properly vetted. I think we can come at it, though, certainly with an open mind and a kind heart, and a level-headed reasoning that is really, really required right now. And I think it's important to do it. You're right. You can't ignore it. At the same time, again, I understand what this show represents, and it's a little bit of everything. And just as you're a complex person, you're not just football all the time or recruiting all the time. You can't completely ignore what else is happening. We do have a responsibility to also do our jobs. And so with that in mind, I will ask you to do yours, Ira. Here you go. Tell me about what's going to happen. First and foremost, I read your piece with the hot topics. How can FSU football overcome missed practice time? And in it, for those that haven't gone to warchant.com to see it, you note that there are reports that the NCAA is considering approval of an extended 6-week preseason camp. Please expound. I'd like to hear more about this.
Yeah, it's one of the things the NCAA's Football Oversight Committee, which is, the committee that kind of puts forth recommendations to the NCAA, the Board of Presidents or the Council of Presidents to decide, make regulation changes. But this is one of those things where the Oversight Committee, according to Pete Thamel with Yahoo, that they're going to put forth an idea. They're planning to put forth an idea where they would have a 6-week preseason camp, which, normally you get about a month. So now you'd be adding 2 weeks into preseason camp to kind of make up for the lost time that teams had in the spring. Florida State was probably about as bad a situation as anybody. They only had 3 practices before things shut down, only 1 day in pads. Some teams, had 7, 8, 9 practices. Some teams didn't have any. So trying to figure out a way to give coaches and players more time to know what they're doing. Plus, also, I think, to kind of make up for some of the lost time in terms of conditioning and things like that, because everything was shut down for basically 3 months. So, it hasn't been approved yet. I think if it does happen, it obviously would be very good news for schools like Florida State and other schools, and certainly in transition periods like Florida State is with a new coaching staff. But there's also, as we talked about it, and you don't have to be a genius to figure it out, that comes with some challenges because most football players are pretty much done with preseason camp after about 2 weeks. pushing that to 6 weeks would be quite an adventure.
Yeah, you wondered there would be a balance there, right, between the physical rigors of the day-to-day, getting guys in shape, working them out, getting them ready to play the game physically. But perhaps there would be a lot more time and a greater emphasis with the extended time to practice on understanding what they're being asked to do, walkthroughs, installs, more hands-on ability there as they walk through these practices, less physical but more mental, but actually having a presence instead of a Zoom meeting, and being able to say, this is the angle I need you to take, and rather reinforcing what they've been talking to them about over the summer via Zoom, I know, as you noted.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing about football in particular. I think is probably the most challenging sport in terms of the need for repetition. And I think you could put there are some other sports where you can do so much individually. Baseball is a sport you can do so much individually on your own or in small groups. During the summer they're able to work with like 4 players at a time or 2 players at a time, things like that, and then you bring it all together and it's pretty seamless. Football, because of the nature of it, how much everything has to work together. All the pieces have to work together. Obviously on the offensive line, but in other positions as well. It's a sport that really depends on that repetition. So, I think anything they can do to add to that is going to be key. But it'll be challenging for the coaches because they get best practices like any of us. Like any of us in our jobs, you have a certain way how to do things. Well, there's a certain way. I remember when Jimbo was here, he basically the preseason camp plan he had was the same preseason camp he learned when he was a player, playing for Terry Bowden and coming to watch Florida State practices. I mean, like, there are things you do and you've done for years and years and years. Now, if you change it, now it's up to the coaching staff to be able to adjust on the fly, make good decisions, understand their team, understand what's going to work, what's too much, when to back off. And some of that's a roll of the dice, and it's feel. So again, these are all things I think, people that have been around Mike Norvell and this coaching staff feel like because they are sharp, because they seem to be resourceful, that it's things that they'll be able to overcome. But it's certainly this whole situation is going to be interesting much longer than after the time that players return to campus full time.
Yeah, and in some ways, Ira, and I've talked about this some. On the one hand, you get so excited about the competence of this staff. You've had a chance, I've had a chance, Tom's had a chance to sit down, eat lunch with them, talk with them. I've interviewed Coach Norvell a few times now. I've talked with the other coaches. I know you have too. You really come away impressed, and so you believe they'll make the most of what time they do have, and they'll make the best of a bad situation, but it's still a bad situation. So no matter what they're able to do, capably do, with their expertise and their abilities and their understanding of what they have to work with and making the best of a bad situation, they're still they're still behind the 8 ball by way of comparison to programs that have already instilled all of these things. And what is expected of the players is already known and been handed down from seniors to juniors, juniors to sophomores to freshmen. We've that have had the kind of seamless year-to-year transition is already such a huge advantage for them at a time like this, that Florida State can only do so much. And that's the frustrating aspect. I get excited about how smart they are. I get excited knowing they're going to make the best of this, but they're still really, really kind of hamstrung.
Yeah, and I think it's a uniquely difficult situation. There's a lot of first-year coaching staffs across the country. But, this Florida State staff's in the unique situation of also coming off of 3 disappointing seasons, having a third coaching change in basically 2.5 years, a program that has such high expectations. The players the older players on this team came in with an expectation to be playing for national titles. Within, months, their head coach is gone, the program kind of goes off a cliff. So there's all these things that they have to kind of deal with. Willie Taggart talked all the time about getting trust from the players, and he didn't realize how hard that was going to be to get their trust. Well, now you have a new coaching staff that feels like they're well on their way, but you didn't get that spring. And I think that spring for a first-year coaching staff, it's not just about the time to work on, precision and repetition, all those things. It's also about, like, going through those battles together and so many relationships are formed and by what happens in spring practice because, there's just adversity. There's good times. There's bad times. There's a day you just get whipped by the guy across from you, and the coaches have to see how you get through that. You have to be able to rely on them, and all those things that are built during that process, you can't really put it in a microwave in August and just hope it's going to come out okay. I mean, again, I think as fans and people on the program are going to be optimistic, and you hope for the best. You have confidence in this coaching staff, but yeah, to your point, this is a really, really tough situation.
Yeah, I know personally, Ira, I always like to see how the guy across from me whose ass I just whipped again yesterday is going to respond. It's a toughie. I need to see that they got some dog in them. Some guys did, some guys didn't. You know how it goes. So let's look at this real quickly, by the way. Former Mississippi State defensive back Jerry Jones is on his way to Florida State. It looked like he was going to go to Ole Miss. We find out today that's not the case. And then you go from there, and you see that this is a few days removed from Florida State getting the services of a defensive tackle who decides to come over from Mississippi State. That's good stuff. Looks like Chris Marv is mining the roster and making an impact on some kids who are looking around, huh?
Definitely, that situation definitely worked out for Florida State. I mean, that coaching staff, it's weird because how that all played out, if you go back to the time when Mike Norvell was putting together his staff and, Chris Marv made the decision to leave, they didn't end up firing that staff until very late in the process. They fired their head coach. And so, and then Mike Leach comes in, makes this crazy comment about lynching on Twitter.
I'd like him to use more Twitter. I'd like him to spend as much time on it as possible. I'd like the kids in the state of Mississippi to consider the history of that state and really just not spend any time at Mississippi State or Ole Miss. And if they have the ability to play football, certainly seek refuge here at Florida State University.
Yeah, so you imagine based on that tweet, they're going to have a pretty good chance of getting immediately eligible at Florida State. And it sounds like there's other players at that school that might be looking to leave also. So that's worked out pretty well for them. And really, I mean, Mike Norvell and his staff, they now have 9 transfers.
It's amazing
from Division I schools. That's like almost a half of a recruiting class just in transfers. And a lot of these guys, Jerry Jones was a freshman. Jerry Jones and Fabian Lovett are both younger guys, but a lot of the guys they're bringing in, the Miko Dotson from FAU and the tight end Olsen from UCLA. Some of these guys have been playing college football for 3 or 4 years, so they should be able to help really right away.
I wish more of the fine folks that man the offensive line for Mississippi State and Ole Miss would also do what I just asked, was to take a good look around at their environs and decide to leave where they are. Up to this point, all those transfers add up to 1 offensive lineman. Am I right?
Yeah, the Devontae Love Taylor is the one that they've got so far. And I misspoke earlier. I think I said Olsen for the tight end. I think I had the Miami kid on my mind.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't bring it up again. Yeah, no, Jordan Wilson from UCLA, yes.
Yes, correct. Only 1 offensive line transfer so far. But, they're definitely still working to get at least 1 or 2 more in, whether that's there are some Division I transfers that they're still talking to, and then also, possibly a junior college transfer. So I think there's a good chance they'll bring in 1 or 2 again, which would put you at double-digit transfers in 1 year, which is really A, very impressive that they've been able to pull it off, but also B, gives you an idea of how much deficiency they see on the roster currently.
I was just about to go there. I was going to say, let's have a bigger discussion about what this really means. Obviously, you're taking kids that you think can help you, can come in and play right away. In the case of Jashawn Corbin, that kid's going to start for Florida State. He looks the part. You and I saw him in pads. We saw what he looked like in those 3 days, and he meets the eye, right? That looks like that's going to be a real win for Florida State. Other guys, we'll have to wait and see. I don't know about the kid from Baylor. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Florida State has a need for a fast twitch guy off the edge. Maybe it happens. But, it does tell you that they realize that not only perhaps they don't have buy-in with certain segments or certain kids and they need to move on from them, but it also shows you that there's just a real dearth of talent here. And that is always true when you're not winning games. You can point to all other things and you can say, listen, the coaching staff did a poor job, or the previous coaching staff prior to that one checked out on him and stopped coaching him, and all that's true, and that Florida State didn't develop players. There's a myriad of reasons things go south in a hurry when you start losing games at a place like Florida State. But one of them is always, you're simply not good enough. And they haven't been good enough on the offensive line. They haven't been good enough at quarterback. They haven't been good enough at linebacker. They haven't been good enough in the secondary. They just haven't been good enough. So you can see this staff recognizes, wow, there's a real dearth of talent here.
Yeah, and and the more goes into it than just talent. Sometimes it's again, like you said, buy-in. Like maybe it's making sure we've got guys who want to be here, because some of the players who've been here for 3 or 4 years have been through a lot, and so it's not unreasonable for them to be wondering whether or not there's a better place to go. For example, a guy like Trey McKitty, who I think would have done great in Mike Norvell's offense, but I also understand he had been here 3 years, wasn't a great experience. Time to check out and see what else he could find.
Yeah, I get it with McKitty. That's a heartbreak. That's always going to bother me. I mean, he needed to catch the ball more consistently. I got you. But damn, man, you look at him. He is ready-made for the National Football League. He'll thrive at Georgia. It just pisses me off we wasted his time here. I understand why he left.
Yeah. So there's going to be some attrition that's not anybody's choice. It's not like they're running all these guys off. But I also think it says something else about Norvell and his staff, and it's something that always bothered me from day one with Willie's staff. Was I just never felt that sense of urgency. They didn't go after transfers right away. They didn't make a huge priority trying to go get a quarterback. They didn't.
Yes.
They talked about playing young players, and again, from I may have shared this before, but after Willie was fired, he made a comment to somebody at FSU on the staff that if I realized that it could happen this quickly, like basically I would have done some things differently. And it's like, dude, this is not a program where you're just going to be able to chill for 3 or 4 years and build something. This is not any of the places you've been at before. I don't think he ever realized that. Mike Norvell clearly, and his staff clearly realized that. Whether or not we don't know what the ceiling is in year 1 or year 2, but they're clearly determined to do whatever they can to get to that ceiling.
Well, yes, also it just sucks to lose. So even if you didn't realize that, you weren't going to be given 3 and 4 years so you could half-ass it for 2 years and not do anything, look, man, I hate losing. I'm going to do whatever I can do to stop losing. I'm glad that Mike Norvell recognizes that losing sucks and that I'm not going to half-step in the process of changing my losing ways. Goodness. Anyhow, love you, brother.
You're encouraged by the idea. He realizes that more better players is a good thing.
Yeah, I'm encouraged that he's not cool with watching all these guys who suck man the garnet and gold. Yes, I'm glad he recognizes I need to win some games at a place where they really, really care about winning. I also hate losing, and that kid's not any good. There you go. That's how it works. Later, brother. Be well.
See you, Jeff. Take care.
Take care. Yeah, man. It's like if you're working with somebody and they suck at what they do, well, in addition to, the fact that they suck at what they do, it affects you. And you better have a mentality that I don't like to suck, and this guy's making me suck. So you fire them. You move on. You find people who will be like-minded, have the same work ethic. Get it. Get the big picture. We'll see how quickly they can win games, how quickly all of this relays into victory on a weekly basis, but I certainly like that sense of urgency. Ira's not wrong about that. And Mike Norvell said, and we got to go to break, but Mike Norvell said right when he got here to somebody I know, when he was asked, and I'm paraphrasing, when he was asked about time period it takes to win and how quickly they could win and, what are you going to have to do to kind of purge the roster a little bit and get kids to buy in and how quickly does that turn into wins? Everything comes back around to wins. Well, Coach Norvell basically said, I'm here to win now. I want to win right now. I can't go to Tamori and Terry and ask them to come back, and Marvin Wilson in particular, and ask them to come back so that they can endure a losing season. I can't go to them and say, hey, listen, I'd really like you to come back, forego potentially millions of dollars in the National Football League and put your future in jeopardy, potentially with injury, etc., because we really need to have a 6-6 season. And it would go a long way in showing trust. No, man, he asked those guys to come back because he wants to win football games right now. Again, separate debate. Can you win 9-10 football games right now with this roster, with uncertainty at quarterback, with an offensive line that annually has been a sieve post-2013? I don't know. That's the debate. But he's not waiting around. This is like, I want to win right now. And I'm asking those guys to come back because I think with their help, we can win right now. We'll see. But it wasn't about, hey, it's a good look for me. If you say yes, I'll come back. It was about, I think we can win some games. I like that kind of mindset. I like that kind of enthusiasm. I don't know that I agree with him. I agree with the mindset. I agree with the approach. I just don't know that I agree we can win right away. And unless one of those young quarterbacks are capable on day one of playing better than James Blackman, which is entirely possible.
The Chubba is here, man. He's here in town.
I know. What's up, Chubba? Come on, buddy. Let's get this thing rolling.
Good luck, Chubba. You're about to run into the Rodemaker.
Chubba's winning that battle. Let's get it on. The battle is between those two gentlemen.
Chubba versus the Rodemaker.
There it is. Let's go. Let's get to. James, if you want to aid in their growth, do everything you can to make that happen. Compete at a high level. Put your arm around them, whatever it might be. But the battle's between those two guys.
That's right.
In my mind.
I know it's Rodemaker. You can earn the right to be called the Rodemaker.
By Tom.
After, playing well and living up to your potential. Yeah. But for right now,
you're going to have to live up to all that potential if you want to compete with Chubba Purdy. You're going to have to fight.
Hey, they're working out today.
Good. Oh, that's nice to hear. That is. That's needed. That's good to hear. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Hey guys, Jeff Cameron here. You'll be hearing more from me in the coming weeks as my journey back to Orange Theory Fitness, well, it's begun. I know that for all of us, as we slowly emerge from self-quarantine, got to feel safe. Feel safe in the places we choose to spend our time, right? And most importantly, we need to know that individuals and or companies have our health and best interest in mind, and I can tell you this is most certainly the case at Orange Theory Fitness. As a member, I like to take classes 4 days a week, bare minimum, and I ventured back over to do some training just as they open this week, and I can attest to the steps taken to ensure your safety. Well, they're extraordinary, frankly. I doubt you can find a hospital as clean as Orange Theory Fitness is currently and will remain dedicated to being. So if you're concerned, maybe a little unsure, well, that's okay. But just know Orange Theory Fitness is open once again and is 100% dedicated to ensuring you get back into shape safely in an environment you can trust. Give Orange Theory Fitness a try today, or check them out at orangetheoryfitness.com.
This hour on 97.9 ESPN Radio is brought to you by AAA Tree Experts in Landscaping. AAA Tree Experts in Landscaping reminds you to prepare your property for hurricane season. Call AAA Tree Experts in Landscaping today, 385-3319. That's 385-3319.
Barry knows cool, he's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool, you can put him to the test.
Your home has been a place of great comfort. We can help you keep it that way. Barano Heating and Air is helping you get ready for summer with $1,500 off select new units, 0% financing for qualified buyers, plus worry-free maintenance plans. Learn more or schedule online at baranoac.com. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air today. Florida license CAC 1816186.
This spring, I'm making Everyday Earth Day by incorporating small actions that can create big results.
Like what?
Well, I'm starting with daily habits, turning off the lights every time I leave a room, shutting off the tap when I brush my teeth, and unplugging electronics when I'm not using them.
Those are great ideas our whole family can do.
And since we're home more, I could also use your help with a few one-time projects that could benefit us long-term, like fixing water leaks and installing our rain barrel.
I'd love to help. Right after I call the City of Tallahassee Utilities at 891-4968 to sign up for paperless billing.
Excellent! Tonight, let's ask the kids if they have any ideas about what we can do to save energy, water, and money as we celebrate Earth Day at home.
2020 marks the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, and there are many things TLH can do to celebrate at home. Get inspiration at tlhcando.com. Small actions create big results. A message from the City of Tallahassee Utilities.
The good folks at AAA Tree Experts in Landscaping say it's time to prepare your property for hurricane season. It's crucial to have trees inspected before a hurricane. Removing dead or hazardous trees and limbs is your best protection against property damage. Don't be reactive to the weather. Be proactive. Have your trees professionally trimmed or removed before it's too late. AAA Tree Experts in Landscaping has been providing tree inspection, trimming, and removal in our community for over 30 years. Call AAA Tree Experts in Landscaping at 385-3319.
Gulick and Wingo.
The majority of players want to find a way to play, knowing that there are going to be some risks because, yes, they want to get paid. That's why people want to go back to work. Players want to go back to play because this is how they make their money, and it's a hell of a lot of money. Let's not kid anybody. They will be more apt to lean toward a reason to play than a reason to not play.
Golick and Wingo, weekdays at 6 a.m. on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Did you just get an Amazon Echo? Pretty neat, huh? Now you can find us on there. Just say, Alexa, enable ESPN Radio Tallahassee. Once you've enabled our skill, you can listen to us anytime you want. Simply say, Alexa, play ESPN Radio Tallahassee.
The Jeff Cameron Show is brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. Community, not competition. 2 Tallahassee locations. Midtown, 1321 Thomasville Road and 1400 Village Square Boulevard.
That even in times of, well, real consternation for one, but let's just say sadness, frustration, fear, our listeners find the time to send me the stories that they would send any other time. Like, they are not deterred by riots, by protests, by COVID-19, by the sort of social injustice that is an ongoing conversation we see throughout the country. They're not deterred by any of the things that currently occupy your time, your mind right now as you think things through. Nope. If an animal kills a human being, I'm getting that tweet. I am getting that email. I am getting it from our listeners. This one made me laugh because it doesn't involve that, but it certainly is in line with 2020 to this point. Alameda County Sheriff reports that there's a tiger on the loose from the Oakland Zoo. Really? So you've got a tiger on the loose in the midst of all that's happened this year. Whether it's quarantine, protests, you name it. Hey, let's just throw a tiger into the mix. Why not? It's like when you read that we've entered into, today begins, I know we were distracted from this, hurricane season, right?
That's correct. And something is forming in the
it's so far down the list
America,
of my concerns right now, even though it has to be an omnipresent thought, right? I mean, obviously, we're dealing with a lot of stuff here, man. We're tackling a lot of things right now, a lot of complex issues right now. Hurricanes, no. Stand down, hurricanes. And you too, wild animals, you too, tigers. None of this right now. That's fun on a Wednesday when things are tranquil. Not now. Nobody's got time for that.
Yeah, the image of the height of attention in a municipal area in which protesters are face-to-face with law enforcement, and then a tiger appears on the scene. That is where we are. That is the dimension that we live in. I was just talking earlier today with you. 3 months ago, we were on the precipice of ACC tournament, NCAA tournament, what this basketball team was going to do. Are they going to close it out and finish the season atop the regular season standings? Leonard Hamilton's program and do something that's never been done in program history before. And we were also hopeful about what the tournament was going to look like. We were hopeful that the pitching staff for the baseball team was going to take it to a place that the bats certainly wouldn't on their own. But there were all these other conversations, and it's a different dimension. That's a different dimension, like a sci-fi episode of your favorite, serial novel. I mean, really, that is a different day, time, dimension, all of it. Just crazy.
Well, it's not surprising. I clicked on the link that was sent to me on Twitter that the person wanted me to address the situation regarding a tiger having gotten loose from the Oakland Zoo. Of course, you can't not click on that. I mean, that is interesting. I mean, there's a tiger roaming the streets in Oakland. Well, that's going to be problematic. Tigers, it's not like they said a parakeet got loose. It's a tiger. It's a problem.
It's not a domesticated tiger.
It's a lion, right? Yeah. This is a problem. But the very first comment was what a lot of people have said about this year prior to the tiger getting loose, which is 2020, go home, you're drunk. But this is, there it is. It's like, okay, tigers are on the loose. And then you tell me now there's something forming in the Gulf?
It could eventually be in the Gulf, but Central America, 80% chance of formation, and there's a chance it makes its way north into the Gulf. But it's too early to tell that part of it. But if you look at the hurricane ops, remember that Twitter feed that you have to follow for months and months at a time?
Forgot about that.
Yeah, it's there's something brewing. We'll see. It's too early to be worried in Tallahassee just yet. But I think a lot of people, in fact everybody, who could potentially be in the way of this hurricane says it's definitely coming here. It's definitely, whether you're in Tampa, whether you're in Louisiana, Alabama, here. Oh, yeah. For sure. It's 2020. It's coming our way.
You know how most of the time we look from afar and we laugh at certain extremes. We're just like, are you kidding me? But there's no doubt that there's a group of happy people today. And I'm not talking about the nefarious, racist, the horrible people that like to see the kind of injustice that is being protested currently. And I'm not talking about those that join peaceful protests only to disrupt it by adding a criminal element, burning things down and destruction of property, things like that. And I'm not talking about politicians, and I'm not talking about any of those people that currently make up the headlines. I'm talking about the one group of people right now who are going, see, I told you, you should have been preparing like me. Doomsday preppers. They are pointing fingers at every member of their family right now. They're like, and you thought I was crazy. You remember last Thanksgiving when you guys laughed at me and Uncle Frank? Oh, we're ready for it all. Bring it on. Hurricanes, anarchy, you name it, it's fine with us.
Why would you sink your last penny into a gross of generators, you said? What do you say now?
I bet you'd like a spot in our underground bunker when it hits the fan, wouldn't you? No room for you, doubters. It's built for two. Yeah.
Brendan Fraser was right. He and Christopher Walken, they had the right idea.
I don't watch that show that's on National Geographic, I think it is. But it is one of those shows where you flip around and you're like, look at this guy.
Yeah.
Is this real? Because most of the shows where they flip houses and stuff, there's an element of silliness where it's scripted and you see things that happen that you know it's fake. Like the Pickers show has gotten so ridiculous where those guys play to the camera all the time and all that stuff. It drives me nuts. But the Doomsday Show, like, you see those folks out in Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
They're serious as a heart attack. I think the world is coming to an end. And we scoff.
That's the guy from the HBO version of Watchmen. Remember his property with all the alarms and stuff?
Yeah, with all the alarms, right. Yeah. Oh, that's right.
It'd be a safe place to be right about now.
Jesus, man. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
You get a plate of bold, boneless chicken and a hot, fluffy, made-from-scratch biscuit for just $3.99. Or, if you'd rather 2 pieces of bone-in fried chicken with a biscuit and a fixin', don't you worry, because that's $3.99 too. It's such a good deal, you can knock out dinner and balance your budget in one fell swoop. Because if you're going to take out 2 birds with 1 stone, they ought to be delicious. Bojangles. It's bow time.
Who's ready for the best wings in Tally and locally brewed beers? Hobbit American Grill is the place to be. They've been voted Tally's best wings again in 2018. Hobbit offers Bingo Mondays, happy hour all day Fridays with craft beers on tap from all the local breweries. And the Hobbit is your home for all the UFC fights with plenty of high-def TVs for everyone. Be on the lookout for the food truck coming soon with the best lip-smacking wings in town. Hobbit American Grill, celebrating 40 years of serving great food to great friends for good times. For info on their hours and 3 locations, visit them online at myhobbitonline.com.
AAA Tree Experts in Landscaping remind you to prepare your property for hurricane season. If you have trees on your property, it is crucial to have them inspected before a major hurricane. Contact AAA Tree Experts in Landscaping today, 385-3319, that's 385-3319, or online at AAATreeExperts.net, AAATreeExperts.net.
Need help moving? 2 Men and a Truck Tallahassee provides professional home and business move services, both locally and long distance. For your next move, visit 2men.com or call them at 850-224-2232. 2 Men and a Truck, the movers who care.
Not all law firms are equal, so here's why Fonville Lewis Mesher McConaughey was recently voted Tallahassee's best law firm. First, we only take real cases. If your car was barely bumped and you think you're going to get rich, we're not the firm for you. We limit our practice to serious cases with legitimate claims. Second, we only take cases involving real injuries. If you know you aren't hurt but think you can fool your way into a quick settlement, we're not the firm for you. We encourage our clients to heal up and get better, not sit on the couch and expect a windfall. Third, we don't want clients who are just in it for the money. If the very first thing you think of after getting hurt is calling pound something or other on your cell phone instead of calling 911, we're not the firm for you. Your health should always come first. And finally, we won't blow smoke about a big money outcome just to get your case. Other firms overpromise and underdeliver. Our only promise is that we'll work harder than anyone to get you the best result. Remember, the law firm you have representing you makes all the difference, so don't settle for less. Call Fonville Lewis Mesher McConaughey and let us put our reputation to work for you.
T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, TSparkConstruction.com.
Planning on expanding or renovating your home or business? Did you know that these construction projects start with preliminary work such as professional sets of drawings and proper engineering? Before you apply for financing or sign a lease agreement, allow our team of contractors, architects, and engineers to assist you with planning and budgeting. Hello, I'm Travis, owner of T-Spark Enterprises, and I am here because we want your project to launch on the right foot. Call us today and we will take care of your construction needs. We aim to provide work that will exceed your expectations, guaranteeing picture-perfect results.
Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, TSparkConstruction.com.
License number CGC 1525336.
Escúchame, y this is Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Let me tell you, I feel badly for Larry Jordan. I mean, first of all, your brother's Michael Jordan. Second of all, your name's Larry. Like, there aren't very many names, Stugotz, that I could give you. Larry Jordan has appeared for like 7 seconds in this documentary, and I'm sure they talked to him for hours, but that's what it's like, being Larry Jordan.
His entire life.
It's got to be terrible, right? I mean, I guess it's great if you got a good relationship with your brother.
Did Jordan have anything nice to say about Larry Jordan?
I didn't hear anything nice about Larry Jordan. I was just surprised Larry Jordan got dressed up, did the interview. I'm sure spent a lot of time talking to them, and then they used 2 very short clips that merely allowed me to look at him and say, man, it must stink to be Michael Jordan's brother and be named Larry.
The Dan Le Batard Show, weekdays at 10 a.m. on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Studios in Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Take a look real quick at inside the Major League Baseball Players Union retort to what the owners proposed. The union's proposal includes a salary advance of $100 million during the next round of spring training. Players have already received $170 million to cover the first 2 months of the season. It's noted in a story I read today in The Athletic. Baseball's revenue, we've talked about this before, Tom, is tied up in postseason media deals. Commissioner's office, obviously worried about the possibility of leagues starting, but not able to complete that postseason. And that's why they, if the postseason's canceled, contracts of $10 million or above could be deferred, according to the union's proposal. And teams with large payrolls would receive as much as $7 million each in relief under that system. Deferred payments would be made with interest in November of 2021 and 2022, November of 2022. So how that would work. The players would also agree to provide a number of commitments to broadcast enhancements, including in-game microphone usage. Very popular topic these days. Just got done really speaking on this in regards to golf. Special programming away from the ballpark. I don't know what that would be, but they were talking about an off-season home run derby or an off-season all-star game. I don't really see the draw in that. Do you? I don't. You think that's a moneymaker? Really?
I think if the all-star team would play a team internationally,
I think that's a better and play an actual series.
Yeah, good luck doing that right now. But yes, I think in the not too distant future, if you're able to play, say.
Not
KBO
unlike
All-Stars.
the World Baseball Classic.
Right. Yeah, but you get MLB against. That'd be fun.
So devastated by the lack of a World Baseball Classic. I was gearing up for these things. Damn it, man. We'll see. I've often wondered what baseball could do in the offseason to try to rule or at least take a piece of the pie, a sliver even of the pie that the NFL has in its year-round presence. They do such a good job in the National Football League of making every deadline seem so important, like something big is happening. The build-up to the draft is unreal in the way that they handle that. OTAs are even made to be a big deal, where you watch guys running around in shorts playing catch. It's boring as hell. You watch 5 minutes of coverage of an OTA, you're like, well, this sucks. There's nothing to glean here. But in my head, I was convinced this was a big deal that OTAs were starting.
Well, if baseball could create like a course, and it's a diamond, but like the MVP baseball video game from years ago, where you've got like the range picker from a golf course, and you've got all kinds of things that explode and light up, and you get points for all that. I'd watch that. As like a half an hour show or an hour show. Once a week, you get the best players in the world on this little course, and then they have to hit home runs for points and hit targets and stuff. Well, that'd be amazing.
Any skills-based element typically from the All-Star games are interesting because you see how good people are. Did you see, I don't know, did I forward you the thing on Ichiro throwing a baseball, knocking the bottles over from a distance? Did I show you this?
I've seen that, yeah.
Well, that's the dumbest thing in the world. Mm-hmm. That camera shot from behind is insane. That's not an easy throw, and it's just in succession. Pa-pat, 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 pa-pat from a distance of more than 20 yards. That's ridiculous.
That's what makes the NFL before the Pro Bowl. They do that skills competition. They make it an hour-long show, and it's really cheesy.
It used to be done. It was better back in the day when Warren Sapp won it. And he had the combination of freakish athleticism for a fat guy and strength that didn't belie because you couldn't see the muscle tone because he was so fat, but he was strong as hell. And he would win that thing all the time because he could really run. He's a former tight end, so you'd see him run. You're like, golly, that's an athlete. And you just wouldn't know it because of the way his body was built. I loved him back then. Those guys took it serious. I think now there's too much money. Potentially you lose, you get hurt in one of those things. Guys don't seem to really.
Well, there are a couple of cool things like the dodgeball at the end, and then they had the skills competition where the quarterback's trying to throw it by a DB, and then they're a target. So it's basically like the corner of the safety's playing goalie in a sense. Mm-hmm. Like things like that. Dude, mindless stuff for 15, 20 minutes that you watch. Think about it. I mean, people love, especially the younger generation, viral videos. If you play into that with weird competitions, go ahead, MLB. You guys agree to that. Make sure we get some of that in the offseason.
Yeah, it is a hard thing. Baseball doesn't lend itself to, like, a hockey skills contest is riveting. It's unbelievable what somebody could do on skates with a puck and a stick. It's you're captivated by it. You are in football, too, to varying degrees, and certainly the NBA has done a good job with it. I mean, I'm not in love with the dunk contest where it's gone over the years. Its best players don't do it anymore.
But this year's past, this
was awesome.
Wow.
It was awesome. It looked like it was making a comeback, and I was excited about that, so that's good. But MLB's really never had that. Never really had it.
No, they just had the All-Star game because both sides really competed.
Well, and that was at a time where, again, the money wasn't where it's at now. I don't think Fosse's getting run over by Rose in a modern-day All-Star game. Both sides have way too much money to lose.
What's interesting, though, is with contracts guaranteed, you almost feel like they'd play harder than, say, the Pro Bowl, right?
Yeah, but I think teams are like, you don't go out there going crazy. Yeah. That's why they're so careful. They're really careful about what they tell their pitchers, for example.
I'm okay with that, though. If you get a who's who, it's like the 5 or 6 best pitchers, starters in your league, and it's just like, here are your innings. That's pretty awesome.
I think if we get a 100-game season and it happens that how about this? I'll just be very curious to see if the changes that they make to the postseason now in order to have more playoff games to recoup their money, how much of these things are going to be kept?
They have to be kept for at least another year because you don't know how next spring is going to be affected. COVID. Remember COVID, everybody? That's still going to be real when it comes to mass gatherings like, paid attendance in stadiums. I know we had a lot of mass gatherings over the weekend, but yeah, the sports leagues have to look at that and see about the implications. I'd imagine that expanded playoffs, it's so hard to dial them back. They're like toll roads and toll booths. Like if you go with 7 teams right now in each league or whatever it was that they proposed, call it 7 in the American, 7 in the National League, and somebody gets a bye. You really going to roll that back in 2 years? You're going to say, sorry, now it's down to 6. That 7 team's not going to make it.
Yeah.
No, there's too much money in it. The question I have is if the players are proposing an October 31st.
I just hate devaluing the regular season that much, but go ahead.
Well, but it's different. I think you've got to prop up the value of winning a division. I mean, Braves fans would, they'd be the Mecca. But I think the important thing here is to look at the timing. So I don't know when MLB's proposed season would end. I didn't have a great command on that. Would it have ended at September, and so you'd have October playoff baseball?
Yeah.
Okay.
It would go into November, I think.
Okay, but the players are talking about starting the postseason in November. That might be too little too late. So you've got to look at the calendar here and make sure. I get the idea that the players want to play more games to make more money for everybody.
I think they got to find a way to do it. That sport really, really requires it.
That's fine by me. Everybody wants more of sports right now if they can get it. They need the break. Mm-hmm. But if it's going to run through Halloween, can you project out right now the way the models are looking with a potential second wave impacting any corner of the country? Like, can you?
Well, that's why the insurance is in place because you can't. Right? I mean, they don't know.
But MLB really wants that postseason, so it would be in their interest to say 2 weeks matters greatly.
By the time they got around to that, if it was happening in November, you'd be down to the final 2 teams, 4 teams, whatever it might be. You could greatly limit and reduce
if you go by the league's proposal,
right?
Yeah, but the players one says the playoffs start in November. I mean, you'd almost have to do an off-site playoff. Maybe at that point you have a host city for a playoff, and you'll be able to use the example of the National Hockey League and the NBA.
There are a lot of things that are going to lead the way that will help us learn, that do help, in not only the setup and postseasons for other sports, but also college football. Like I know the time's different, but still, college football is going to be able to see how the NBA, Major League Baseball, and other sports return is handled, and they could probably learn an awful lot.
What would be interesting to me is given the way those models look now, and they're going to look different 2 weeks from now and a month from now. I get that. But the way they look in this moment, I think if we had one more month, so let's just say that it was May 1st today instead of June 1st. Your birthday would be 40 days away instead of just merely 10 days away.
Unbelievable how close it is.
Would we start the college football season earlier if we had a little bit more wiggle room and time? Would you start kicking off games on August 15th just to buy you a little bit of window for wiggle room? I think they would.
I think they would.
You're looking at campuses open earlier for the fall semester.
I think you would.
I don't think you have the time to do that now.
You don't. One aside, I talked about how I envy the NFL in how that they have found a way to dominate the headlines and dominate the sports calendar, the yearly calendar, with something sprinkled in seemingly every month that other sports envy, that other sports wish they could garner the same sorts of headlines. The one area that I don't envy the NFL, and it hasn't mattered, and the hubris and the buffoonery has not mattered, but I don't know of another league that is as tone deaf and poorly run at the top as the NFL with Roger Goodell, who stepped in it again over the weekend, and it was just the best. I read what he said, which in a vacuum would be fine if they hadn't done what they did if Roger Goodell hadn't done what he did to Colin Kaepernick.
The NFL prefers the vacuum.
Yeah.
They love the vacuum.
I just, when I read, what's the comment here? I'll pull it up really quick here. It was classic. The NFL family is greatly saddened by tragic events across our country. Protesters' reactions to these incidents reflect pain, anger, frustration. So many of us feel. Current events dramatically underscore there remains so much more to do in this country and as a league. You don't say, Roger. If only one of your high-profile players sought to draw attention to it through peaceful protest, that could have helped start dialogue and recognize the power of that platform in order to do so. If only somebody had done such a thing, Roger. And so I read his headline, and I went 3, 2, 1, and here we go. First one, shame on you. This is beyond hollow. This is a lie. Your actions show really who you are. You've done nothing but the exact opposite of what you just described. Different people from all walks of life that either cover the NFL or in the NFL or a player, a coach, a writer, everybody. I love pro football, guys, but this is laughable. Listen to this dumbass. And then it was just boom, 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 boom.
I wonder if he's...
It can't be you.
Yeah. Even the NHL, which has come under a lot of scrutiny recently for systematic oppression in the youth minor league system.
Minor league system, Well, coaches have gotten fired.
Coaches, but it's also they're saying we have to embrace what we've done wrong. Okay,
good.
Now people in Canada are and you're like, should we make a statement?
Depends on what kind of business you are.
Exactly.
Depends on what you've done. Your actions speak volumes, yes. Final hour, forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
Individuals and or companies have our health and best interest in mind, and I can tell you this is most certainly the case at Orange Theory Fitness. As a member, I like to take classes 4 days a week, bare minimum, and I ventured back over to do some training just as they opened this week, and I can attest to the steps taken to ensure your safety. Well, they're extraordinary, frankly. I doubt you can find a hospital as clean as Orange Theory Fitness is currently and will remain dedicated to being. So if you're concerned, maybe a little unsure, well, that's okay. But just know Orange Theory Fitness is open once again and is 100% dedicated to ensuring you get back into shape safely in an environment you can trust. Give Orange Theory Fitness a try today or check them out at orangetheoryfitness.com.
T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, TSparkConstruction.com.
Planning on expanding or renovating your home or business? Did you know that these construction projects start with preliminary work such as professional sets of drawings and proper engineering? Before you apply for financing or sign a lease agreement, allow our team of contractors, architects, and engineers to assist you with planning and budgeting. Hello, I'm Travis, owner of T-Spark Enterprises, and I am here because we want your project to launch on the right foot. Call us today and we will take care of your construction needs. We aim to provide work that will exceed your expectations, guaranteeing picture-perfect results.
Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, TSparkConstruction.com.
License number CGC 1525336.
This hour on 97.9 ESPN Radio is brought to you by AAA Tree Experts in Landscaping. AAA Tree Experts in Landscaping reminds you to prepare your property for hurricane season. Call AAA Tree Experts in Landscaping today, 385-3319. That's 385-3319.
Attention Tallahassee, Phase 1 is Phase Patio at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill will be serving up the coldest, crispest refreshments and their signature delicious jumbo wings, all while adhering to responsible social distancing. You know this is the best time of the year to sit on the outdoor patio or deck, so make the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill on Appalachie Parkway your first and most frequent stop for Phase Patio. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Order takeout today at cptallybar.com. That's cptallybar.com. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Hey guys, how are you? This is Eddie from Gordo's Restaurants and Bumpa's Local 349. I just want to let you guys know that we here in the local community love to have you back. It's 25%, we know, but we're doing the best that we can to serve you and do what we do the way we do it. Same great food, a little bit more space. And we're not the only ones. There's lots of local restaurants out there. Just remember, eat local, drink local, be local. Come see us.
The Florida Lottery has awarded nearly 900,000 Bright Future scholarships and counting. That means Bright Future scholars are everywhere.
They are doctors,
Teachers.
scientists.
Even artists.
They are shining in every field imaginable. And every day, more students are preparing for their moment in the spotlight. With Bright Futures and the Florida Lottery.
How much money would you like to save just by doing something you're already doing? How about 40%? With Allstate, safe drivers can save 40% just by doing something they're already doing. Driving safe. That's right, 40% just by driving safe. Visit Allstate.com or call a local agent for a quote today and see just how much you can save when you drive safe with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Savings vary and based on DriveWise and other safe driving discounts. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Games for Less, the only locally owned and operated gaming store in town, has Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used video games and game systems. The future of video gaming is at Games for Less, where they have both the PS4 and Xbox One. It's time to trade in your old systems and elevate your gaming experience now. Games for Less is also your headquarters for the best in retro gaming. Atari 2600, original Nintendo, Super NES, or Sega Genesis, you name it. They got it at Games for Less. Games for Less, the Super Walmart Shopping Center on Appalachie Parkway. Give them a call today at 850-219-3535. That's Games for Less.
Driving every day from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee. Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Studios in
Final hour of the Jeff Cameron Show, at least for today. Thanks for tuning to it. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you listening to the program and being with us. Hope you're being safe. Hope you're being smart. And I hope, certainly, you're healthy. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free. Always, if you missed anything, go back. Get caught up at your leisure. We'll post all 3 hours of today's program, as we're wont to do, on iTunes as well as our own website. You can always email the show if you like. It's jcs at 979espnradio.com. You'll find me on Twitter at jcameronshow. WTSM app is good for some of you. YouTube is back up and running, as I've noted throughout the day. We are back with video. We'll do that when we can. It's good to have Director Matthew back. I've kind of intermittently throughout the day, at various points before we launch on into the sports, have taken the time to at least certainly acknowledge the incredible tension in the air And obviously the thoughts that so many of us have right now certainly aren't on sports. And I'm very aware of, how worried, how saddened, devastated, how angry, how frustrated, and frightened many people are right now. And so I don't ever want to make light of that. I certainly don't want to ignore the things that are happening of great importance in this country. And I don't want to pretend like if we all just talk about sports for 3 hours, it'll go away. I know that's not true. I'm a grown-up, and you're capable of critical thought just as I am. And so we're all aware of these things, and I take it very seriously. Intermittently, you'll hear throughout the week us have talking points that don't involve sports that might actually address all of that. I've done a little bit of that today. But right now, certainly, my thoughts are with those that are hurting and those that are tasked with really difficult jobs. I'm talking about all the parents who have to address this situation in our country with their children. I'm talking about the police officers who do things the right way and have the difficult task of policing what I hope are peaceful protests. But certainly, there are those that aren't, and they're in a difficult position too. That's what officers who do the wrong thing do by putting them in harm's way. And then I'm very obviously concerned for communities around this country that are watching, as we all are. Questions and various motivations from leadership that just seem to be lacking. So it's all there. It's all there. I'm aware of it. But I'm also aware that we have to do our job, and primarily our job is to entertain and to talk. Central theme, certainly on this show, sports, in particular Florida State sports, where there is news today. And so it is good news, in fact, for Florida State, as we continue to see Florida State find a way to dabble in the transfer market. And, you figure if you're trying to flip a roster, that is something you have to do. Florida State landing a tight end, committing to the Noles, as well as a defensive back transfer. You heard Ira and I talk about it last hour. Listen, for all the talk of all the 3 stars that Florida State's had to focus on, the truth is, in this case, you get a 4-star kid who, I might add, if you have understandably been distracted and haven't paid attention to sports lately, this was a kid that was recruited by some pretty elite universities at the time that he went to Mississippi. He was redshirted at Mississippi State, I should say. He has 4 years to play 3. But you look, and Alabama recruited this young man. That's exciting. Obviously, Chris Marv is a guy that was at Mississippi State. Now he helps, without question, I'm sure, kind of facilitate this move. And that is part of the benefit you get when you bring in guys that have been at big-time programs and they join your staff. There are connections to these younger kids that they recruited or helped recruit, certainly, or built relationships with that can benefit you. It happens every time a coach leaves one major program and goes to another major program. It certainly benefited us with Pruitt, and there have been others. So I get excited when I see that. Jarian Jones is the young man's name. It looked like he was transferring to Ole Miss from Mississippi State, but instead he reversed course and said, no, you know what? I'm going to go to Florida State. And so that's good news. 3 days after one of the former Mississippi State teammates, a defensive tackle by the name of Fabian Levette, also said that he is coming to Florida State. So come on down.
And that was a roller coaster ride for Fabian. There's a lot of politicking that goes on away from the realm of actual politics between Ole Miss and Mississippi State. We know that.
Yes, we do.
A lot of things that if you really want to get lost and give yourself a half an hour of reading on something that is meaningless and trivial to distract yourself, take a look at what happened with Fabian when it comes to a potential transfer to Ole Miss and some of the rumors that are around, what may have enticed him to come to Ole Miss. Because he said he was coming here, and then it was, nope, he's going to go play in Oxford, and then magically he came back here. And some believe that's because Ole Miss was told to stand down and how aggressive they were pursuing his services. Interesting stuff to read, there's no doubt. But to get his teammate, who's a 4-star defensive back, we have to like him a lot.
The intel safety here, yeah.
The intel from Marv has to be strong because you don't have all that many roster spaces, or scholarships, I should say. It's not the pros, it's college. You don't have all that many scholarships left, and we feel okay about that position group. Like defensive backs as a whole.
It's not terrible, yeah.
So that has to be a take more than please help us. And what's crazy is over the course of the weekend, which a lot of listening is being done, hopefully. Listening, not speaking, listening, because, there's important things being said. When I saw this crawl up, when I was looking at news, Ira put out today on War Chant, that's now 9 transfers?
9, and I can name them for you here. Jerrion Jones, the kid from Mississippi State that we're talking about. Miko Dotson out of FAU. The aforementioned defensive tackle, Fabian Levitt from Mississippi State. You get the defensive lineman, Jared Jackson from Louisville. You get, obviously, we know about Jashawn Corbin, who's probably going to be the starting running back and really looks the part from Texas A&M. You got the offensive lineman, Devontae Love-Taylor out of FIU. You got a linebacker in Cornell Jones out of Purdue. You get a defensive end from Baylor. We all remember Deontay Williams. We had the conversation when he committed. And tight end Jordan Wilson coming over from UCLA. So you got a lot.
Yeah, I think the Purdue kid is a walk-on or a preferred.
Preferred, yeah.
So he doesn't count it against the roster. But still, do the math. 9 players. You got 85 schollies. Even if one's a walk-on, you're talking about 10% roster turnover in just the transfer market. You combine that with the class that's coming in. I mean, I know there's always turnover every year in a roster. That's the nature of college sports when your athletic your eligibility runs out. But man, you have a lot of new faces in this program, a lot of them.
Yeah, and I think that you're going to have to, the staff has had to really evaluate not only ability, not only whether a kid can play at a certain level that allows you to win enough games and really create momentum here, but also which of your position groups have more buy-in than others, which of these teams have a lack of depth. Those units have depth problems in some cases. Other times, just evaluating what you've been able to evaluate in a short period of time. You know what? We don't have enough talent, but we also don't have enough buy-in, I don't think, from this segment. And so let's see if we can't bring in some people and start fresh here. Kids who are looking at opportunities to play right away, they transfer in, or guys that, believe in either the position coach, in this case Marv, that they were dealing with at their previous university, or guys who have, you talk about taking a chance on a kid that maybe didn't have a relationship, but if they're fast and they fit the position, we have to upgrade talent here. So you got a lot of factors you got to balance, but you're looking at ability. You start with ability. Can you play? And then also, does he fit a need? Does he fit somewhere that, hey, listen, we either have a lack of talent, a lack of depth, a lack of buy-in, maybe all three. All right. That's a kid we take a chance on. Let's bring him in. Let's go. You got to flip the roster, man. The roster's not good enough. We've struggled in recruiting. We've struggled on the field. We know that. It's been a number of years. I get it.
Well, I think the hard part, too, is outside of some position groups where we all know. We know the big players that need to get way, way better. There's potential that maybe these players could have been. Like the roster from last year, they could have been something else, but they weren't. They weren't developed.
Yeah.
And then you worry about habits, and that's where the flipping of the roster comes in. You've got to flip the culture, create new habits. And then if kids, unfortunately, were ruined by a different coaching staff, you have to make some tough decisions and say, we need to move forward with a different, set of talent. And that's what they're doing here. They're being aggressive about it. I like that we are being aggressive in so many ways as a football program, whether that's being proactive to have a plan to start voluntary workouts the day you can, rather than the 8th or the 15th. We had a plan. We got kids on campus. We got them tested. They're able to start today, whether it's in the transfer market or the development pool of 2021 class. You see some 3-stars that may be 4-stars before too long, once all the recruiting services catch up. I submit to you, I fully believe that. Not that every kid that has said yes to us so far is going to be a blue chipper, but I'll bet you that Norvell and his staff has an eye for talent. You wouldn't have the success he does if you didn't have an eye for talent.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I get excited about, listen, I understand this is going to take time, and I think that's the hardest thing, that we would like to see this roster flipped overnight. We'd like to see the upgrade in talent happen immediately. We would love to believe that in year one, a staff that has been severely hamstrung by sets of circumstances that they had no control over, obviously, but now have to react to, and still tasked with the same responsibilities of putting a product on the field that shows legitimate possibility for growth. It has to be a team that you can believe moving forward can improve in all facets of the game. And so, for me, It's one thing to be enthusiastic and excited about what the potential of this coaching staff is and what their track record shows them to be. I think you can get really wrapped up in that. I'm okay with that. I don't deter enthusiasm based on what I know from meeting those guys and looking at their track record. But then you try to balance yourself with that same enthusiasm. You recognize, okay, we're still not at a place where year one, and who knows, again, hopefully we're playing football, but year one, you're not going to see massive growth, but you're going to see significant growth. I do believe that. I just, by merely being competent and having a plan, I believe you'll see significant progress to the point where the 50-50 games, we keep bringing this up, more often than not, are won by us. Now, again, we're thin in areas. We still aren't good up front, and, that really limits your ability to be, a 10-11 win team.
Well, it's crazy how things can flip quickly, though, and I'll go to the Buccaneers as an example, and it's not about Brady at all. A couple years ago, we had been on a ridiculous streak that Lee DeKemper would bring up when you had him on for interviews over the years, that we didn't have a pass rusher rack up double-digit sacks in Tampa Bay after Simeon Rice left town.
Yeah.
Simeon Rice played on the Super Bowl champion Buccaneers in 2002, and for a couple years after.
Yes, he did.
Not a single 10 or more sack season in all that time. I mean, you're going on multiple decades, right?
Thank goodness for last year.
Well, then Shaq Barrett comes out of damn
goes
nowhere
nuts.
off of the second level or of the 2 deep in Denver, comes over here. He gets squeezed out, and what happens? Boom, out of nowhere.
It was crazy.
I say that because as a Noel fan, I'm looking for hope. If we pick up or we have acquired through the transfer market or somebody develops or Amari Gaynor plays in that position, if we can generate a pass rush, this defense can be really good, legit good. Not maybe top 10 of the country elite, but good. Like, if that one facet of our game is something that's here in 2020 that's sorely missing the last few years.
We had guys out of place.
It changes everything about what we look like as a defense.
We've had guys out of place. We've been wrong-minded in our efforts to shift scheme out of nowhere. We've had a lot of things in which we shot ourselves in the foot. This gets back to the thing I keep saying. It's just it's a mantra. Putting kids in the best position to succeed, which means recognizing what they do well and putting them in a position to do that and avoid the weaknesses, coaching away from the weaknesses. Some of those will get exposed. Some of those things will be recognized by other coaches, but certainly give your guys a fighting chance to succeed based on their skill set. I do believe that you're right. They're going to do that, and thus there is enough talent there. Now, you got to knock on wood. We don't suffer injuries. I do think there are position groups on that defense that are lacking in depth of talent. But frontline talent, there is some there. I believe that, yes.
The interior is elite. I think you're going to patchwork something together at the linebacker level. It's a big if, but I do believe that. I mean, we've had negative development in that.
Linebackers have been terrible for a long
years.
Time. Yeah.
I think you're seeing the emergence of legitimate corners, right? You've got some different candidates, some different names rather than the same ones we've been rolling out there the last couple of years. You've got coaches who are developed. I mean, this is all predicated on the idea that we're developing what we got. And these coaches have a track record of doing that wherever they've been. But if you can just get one pass rusher, somebody that the opposing team has to account for, then it opens up the floodgates because they already have to double the middle. There's so much you can do if one guy would just step up and take advantage of it. I'm hopeful that maybe it's Jared Jackson, maybe it's a young kid who develops and they mix and match. Maybe the scheme generates pressure from all different angles. But that interior is so damn good, and the defensive backcourt, I think, is going to be so much better year over year that this defense has a real chance to put us in a position to win 8 to 10 games, depending upon how turnovers go.
Well,
and depending if there's a 12-game season.
Yeah, I was going to say that'll be based on how many games we play. I do believe that, yes, there are easily 8 winnable games. I guess in a full schedule, that's definitely true. I also think that competence at quarterback, confidence at quarterback, play calling that helps mitigate overriding weakness up front, get the quick game involved, those kinds of things. They're not completely devoid of talent over there. It's not up to the standard we're accustomed to. It's not where it needs to be and has to get to in the coming years, but it's good enough to win with this schedule. 8 games, certainly, maybe more. There's some games where it's going to be a coin toss. Good coaching staffs win the games in which it's a coin toss.
And then when you need intangibles, can you build that scrappiness? between now and kickoff.
Got to be an angry team, man. You got to be a tough and an angry team. One that's tired of being on the wrong end of so many results that really could have been avoided with a little bit of coaching, a little bit of game planning, a little bit of the things that you're paid handsomely to do. That's all I'd say. They gotta be tired of that. Hey, so something good did happen between last night today. I know that it doesn't seem like anything good is happening in the world, but as it pertains to sport and elsewhere, there are some good things happening. One, it does look like we took a major step forward with the MLBPA delivering their proposal to the league yesterday afternoon, I believe that was, as reports came trickling in on a 114-game schedule proposal. Some thoughts on that. And then some other things that happened that I think do pertain to the protests, to the civil unrest, to the things that we're seeing across the country right now as performed by athletes that are a good thing and that encourage dialogue, something we desperately need more of. And we saw some people step up in a way, both in the NFL and in college football, that I frankly didn't anticipate. And I see it as a positive sign. I'll touch on that as well next. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
In the hand, but lights which demand.
Hey guys, Jeff Cameron here. You'll be hearing more from me in the coming weeks as my journey back to Orange Theory Fitness, well, it's begun. I know that for all of us, as we slowly emerge from self-quarantine, got to feel safe. Feel safe in the places we choose to spend our time, right? And most importantly, we need to know that individuals and or companies have our health and best interest in mind, and I can tell you this is most certainly the case at Orange Theory Fitness. As a member, I like to take classes 4 days a week, bare minimum, and I ventured back over to do some training just as they opened this week, and I can attest to the steps taken to ensure your safety. Well, they're extraordinary, frankly. I doubt you can find a hospital as clean as Orange Theory Fitness is currently and will remain dedicated to being. So if you're concerned, maybe a little unsure, well, that's okay. But just know Orange Theory Fitness is open once again and is 100% dedicated to ensuring you get back into shape safely in an environment you can trust. Give Orange Theory Fitness a try today or check them out at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Barry knows school, he's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows school, you can put him to the test.
Your home has been a place of great comfort. We can help you keep it that way. Barno Heating and Air is helping you get ready for summer with $1,500 off select new units, 0% financing for qualified buyers, plus worry-free maintenance plans. Learn more or schedule online at BarnoAC.com. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barno Heating and Air today. Florida license CAC 1816186.
Hey guys, how are you? This is Eddie from Gordo's Restaurants and Bumpa's Local 349. I just want to let you guys know that we here in the local community love to have you back. It's 25%, we know, but we're doing the best that we can to serve you and do what we do the way we do it. Same great food, a little bit more space. And we're not the only ones. There's lots of local restaurants out there. Just remember, eat local, drink local, be local. Come see us.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.
The Jeff Cameron Show is brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness, science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-inspired. 2 Tallahassee locations. For more information, head to orangetheoryfitness.com today to start your journey.
let's start with baseball here, transition. Before I do that, let me just tell you this very quickly. My friends at Orange Theory Fitness are open again. They opened today. I was there first thing this morning to take a class at 6 a.m. Man, am I glad I did. One of the reasons that I wanted to was I wanted to see what was being done about addressing safety concerns for those that want to get back to working out, and in particular working out at Orange Theory Fitness. Obviously, folks going to any gym are going to be concerned. They want to know that safety precautions have been taken. They want to know that there has been forward thinking. They want to know that the coaches have been trained and that there has been a plan in place and instituted, and I can tell you that is exactly what you'll find at Orange Theory Fitness right now. I know because I went today, the first day that they opened back again, and thoroughly enjoyed my workout, but I, moreover, felt very safe. There's no lingering around in the lobby. That's not happening anymore. I don't know what other gyms are doing, but I know Orange Theory Fitness has said, listen, we prefer stay in your car until it's time to work out. Every workout is scheduled. Mine was at 6:10 a.m. to be technical. And they would let us know a few minutes before it was time to come into the building. One of the things that I bore witness to, because I got there early and I didn't really know what to expect, so I wanted to get there a little bit early. And even for me, Tom, that is early. I arrived at 5:55 a.m. I thought, I'm at a gym at 5:55 a.m. My eyes might be open at home. I'm usually not at a gym, admittedly. But I was at Orange Theory Fitness this morning, Northside, and I was excited for them. I know the people there. They're good people. I know Andy, the owner, and I know the trainers. They're all good people. I'm happy to see them be able to get back to work, frankly. But anyhow, I watched, and the process is as thorough. I mean, I have to believe, I'm not a doctor, not a scientist, so this is anecdotal, but I have to believe that is as clean a place when you go in to work out as there is in the country. It's got to be cleaner than your hospitals. It's unreal what they're doing to ensure that the equipment, the treadmills, the rowers, everything is thoroughly cleaned. There's in the coming days, I'm going to tell you technically what they're using, what the process is, the training that went into it. I'm learning just like everybody else right now about a lot of things, but in particular this. I don't want to misspeak. I just know what I witnessed today, which was awesome. And their trainers, they all wear masks. You line up outside the facility before you go in, right before it's your time to work out. They've got you spaced out so you can social distance. When it's your turn to step forward, there's a member of the OTF team. They take your temperature. They ask you a series of questions, not unlike going to the orthodontist or the doctor's office, wherever it is these days that you have to gather. They ask you a series of questions. They take your temperature. If it's over 100.4, you can't go in the facility. Then you go straight to your station, which has been thoroughly cleaned, and you work out. And there's no, you're not intermingling really. You're spaced out. It used to be that there was somebody next to you at all times at Orange Theory Fitness for a full class. That's not the case anymore. The definition of full class has changed, Tom. I was at Station 3 this morning, the treadmill, Station 3. The next closest person to me was at 5, so there's a full treadmill of space between us, and that's ample space if you see the size of their treadmills, which are state-of-the-art. Same thing, people on the rowers are not next to each other, so you're not, exchanging air bubble, puffing and puffing and all that. And they really have everybody spaced out in such a way that even when you switch, one group goes outside of the gym, the other group takes over the weight room. It's already been cleaned, and that group comes back in. It's amazing. Anyhow, had a great workout today. They're open if you're wondering. I'll tell you more about it in the coming days. I just wanted you to know they've been proactive. They waited longer than they had to reopen. They technically could have already reopened, but they had not because they wanted to be sure those protocols were put in place and that the proper training had been done for all of their staff and that everybody understood what was expected of them to ensure the safety of the clients. And so congratulations to my friends at Orange Theory Fitness. All right, that's a very long-winded ad and commentary and testimonial for Orange Theory Fitness. above and beyond what I would normally give, but I just want people to know they're open, and I want people to know that they have taken action and that you can feel safe. So if you want to check it out, go ahead and do so. OrangeTheoryFitness.com. I'll tell you more in the coming days. Major League Baseball. The Players Association Sunday proposed that the 2020 season consist of 114 games. We knew the players were going to say more games because they want their money. And we kind of figured this would be the counter, right? You and I talked about it being 100 games. They said 114. Your belief is that it comes down to 100, and that's why they put it at 114.
They say 114 because, now it's a middle ground. You create the illusion of... of
a negotiation. Yeah. But the union wouldn't give ground on player salaries. We didn't expect that they would necessarily, except for they did offer up $100 million in deferrals if the postseason is canceled or shortened, according to many sources that are covering this story.
That's a big one.
The union also offered to endorse an expanded playoff system for this year and next, viewing it as a win for fans and teams, obviously, and their players. Major League Baseball's spokesman so far have not returned too much of a comment on this just yet.
This is really important, though, because what does this mean, a letter like this being sent back to the league? It means these are the following things we're willing to talk about. And if we're willing to put this in writing right here for expanded playoffs, or you're talking about the amount of games, deferrals, all those types of things, this is the starting number that we're working with. We can be maybe amenable to $150 million of deferrals. You know what I mean? Like, just these are the starting points, and these are the things on the table. I would imagine that a lot of leagues are going to be looking at expanded playoff systems over the next year.
To make their money back,
because the playoffs make them so much more money.
Well, and everybody's losing right now. And that's the thing that everybody has to understand. The players have to understand that. The owners have to understand that. Obviously, across the board in sport right now, all sides are losing. Everybody, big picture, it's not a matter of somebody's going to win while somebody loses. They're all losing, Tom. It's how much are you willing to concede in order to make best of a bad situation. So, hey, if I'm an owner, I'm going to lose money this year. I am not going to make money this year. That is the bottom line. Without fans being in those stands, I'm losing money this year. Okay, I have to concede that for the greater good of the game. If I'm a player, I'm losing money this year. I'm not making my scheduled $20 million because, first of all, the games are cut virtually in half, so I've got to take a pay cut. Secondly, I have to be willing to concede a little above and beyond that as well, as long as I believe the owners are meeting me in the middle and I can see the books and all that, or at least get some sort of fair value. So at this point, both sides are having to acquiesce more than they'd like. Both sides are going to lose money in a way that's uncomfortable for all sides involved, but it's for the betterment of the game. It has to happen. It would be an unmitigated disaster for a sport who cannot afford to be out of the public eye at a time where other sports are growing rapidly. You cannot, if you're baseball, already seen as antiquated, not have a season, especially not if the NHL comes back, the NBA comes back, the NFL moves forward with a season, which we know they will. So you can't be the lone sport whose declining numbers are already disconcerting, who decides not to play because a billionaire can't get along with a millionaire about what kind of money cuts they should both take.
And what kills me, about this particular topic, it makes me angry, is that the owners, you see minor leaguers are being released. This was happening late last week anyway. Certain franchises, including my own in New York, go figure, cutting corners to save a couple of bucks. Right. When you're talking about the types of money that the players and the owners are talking about, and you can't cut $100 a week to each one of your minor leaguers because the games aren't being played, you're not only sending a terrible message to the Players Association, like the actual Major League Baseball Players Association, you're hurting the long-term development of the game.
Yep.
What are you doing? When you figure on how much money it would actually cost each franchise to pay their minor leaguers to finish out a season that'll never happen.
Right.
It's nothing.
It's pennies.
Bupkis compared to this.
Yeah, it's nothing.
And I applaud the Players Association and individual teams and players themselves that are coming up with the money to pay for the minor leaguers. The Nationals are doing it. They're finding the money to pay the minor leaguers because the team won't. That's ridiculous. That should not be happening, because even if you want to talk about you got to work to earn a wage, I get that. They're getting paid nothing, cents on the dollar, and you're also talking about the long-term viability of your sport. A lot of these guys that are going to be really important players for your franchise 5 years down the line, they'll never come back to it. So what are you doing? How short-sighted can you be?
Well, we'll see what happens from here, but it is a big step forward. And if it's something that leads to baseball being played this year, I think we could all use some baseball. I know I personally could use some baseball. And I'm not just talking about professionally, because this is what we do for a living, and the ability to talk about more sports, not less sports, is important. But I also love the game, and I think right now certain needed distractions, and I'm not saying at the expense of ignoring your responsibilities, all of our responsibilities to better this country. I am saying, however, that that is not a 24-hour-a-day thing. We are allowed to take a few minutes to ourselves, and those few minutes could be spent watching a baseball game.
I agree. Yeah. And if I sound passionate about this, please don't mistake that. My passion is where my heart's heavy today.
Nobody
but just on a personal level, I got a heavy heart today.
Yeah.
And I've got passion for this argument, but the amount of my energy is not even close to on the baseball negotiations between the players and the owners.
Quickly want to do this. I did want to say that I thought there was real progress here. Richard Sherman and other athletes in the NFL noted this progress, and I think he's right. A lot of times when we have the greater conversation, we're talking about listening, learning, educating. We're also talking about dialogue and, sensible, rational, even-handed dialogue. And too often that dialogue has been one-sided, in my opinion. Those that suffer unduly and disproportionately certainly have been compelled over the years to speak. But not enough of their cohorts in the league who are, in this case, white, have bothered to speak, and especially white with a position of power, meaning the quarterback position. And that happened over the weekend. And so I quickly would like to applaud at a time where those athletes, we live in a different age now, can do that and should do that, in my opinion. We just got done watching The Last Dance, and there was a big debate about whether Michael Jordan should have spoke up more and had a greater voice during a time where he was the most powerful sports figure in the world. And we can debate that another time. But that time was very different from this time, in that there were a lot of athletes, not just Michael Jordan, who did not feel that no matter how popular they were or how strong they were, that they could do that they were in a position to be able to do that without there being severe consequences to them financially and otherwise. Not so much anymore. I mean, I certainly see where the Colin Kaepernicks of the world pay a dear price for standing up and protesting. But nothing's going to happen to Carson Wentz because he has an opinion on this situation and he decides to voice it. I promise you nothing's going to happen to him. He can do that, and he did. Good for him. In addition to that, Joe Burrow, a rookie in the league, spoke up. I think it's important that he did. Shocked to see Trevor Lawrence in college speak up and have an opinion on this issue. Also, Andy Dalton. Yeah, he's a backup in Dallas now, but he came out, had something to say. Good. Like to see powerful people in positions, the most important position in the game. Quarterback in particular has a heavy-handed influence and is influential across the board. Good. More of this kind of dialogue, more of these kinds of conversations need to take place. So you can agree or disagree with what they had to say. I just think it's important to have the dialogue, to have more people involved in the conversation. Listen, that's the beauty of sport. We've talked about it forever. It brings us all together.
Oh, you said it there too. Listen, when it's not your turn, listen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's in this moment and in important moments in our lives, be it on a personal level or like society, like we're watching over the weekend. If it's not your turn, listen.
Sure.
You can learn a lot that way.
Especially if you don't know.
Yeah.
If there's a lot of reading and understanding and backdrop that you have to take in, then do so. Educate yourself so you can be a part of the conversation.
Right. Pete Alonso up with the Mets did the same thing this weekend, and that's somebody who in that market is taking it by storm. So good.
I think a lot of guys are going to do that. I think they feel the freedom to do that now, maybe in a way that they hadn't before. And I just know that, sport does so much to break down stereotypes and break down the foolishness that you see all over the country, in pockets especially all over the country. But golly, you get in that locker room with a guy, black, white, Hispanic, doesn't really matter. Everybody's blood, sweat, and tears, baby. You learn a lot about each other, and you learn that people are people, and that most of those stereotypes and the silly views we have of others are really non-existent. It's obsolete. It's not a thing. It's a made-up thing that was perpetuated for a very long time, but you guys know that. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill will be serving up the coldest, crispest refreshments and their signature delicious jumbo wings, all while adhering to responsible social distancing. You know this is the best time of the year to sit on the outdoor patio or deck, so make the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill on Appalachia Parkway your first and most frequent stop for Faye's Patio. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Order takeout today at cptallybar.com. That's cptallybar.com. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
The Florida Lottery has awarded nearly 900,000 Bright Future scholarships and counting. That means Bright Future scholars are everywhere.
They are doctors,
Teachers.
scientists.
Even artists.
They are shining in every field imaginable. And every day, more students are preparing for their moment in the spotlight. With Bright Futures and the Florida Lottery.
AAA Tree Experts in Landscaping remind you to prepare your property for hurricane season. If you have trees on your property, it is crucial to have them inspected before a major hurricane. Contact AAA Tree Experts in Landscaping today, 385-3319, that's 385-3319, or online at AAATreeExperts.net, AAATreeExperts.net.
Liberty Mutual Insurance presents. When generic insurance takes hold, one handsome man and one flightless bird are teaming up to save the world. Money. Their message? Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need. Their mission? Savings. Their relationship? Best friends. Say hello to Liberty Mutual's new spokes team. And Doug.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Equal housing insurer. State laws apply.
Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Studios in Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Wrapping it up, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. We even have video all day today. Very exciting. I have to be seen. Joking. Come on. Anyhow, you probably can't see me today because I'm glowing. I shaved my head bright and early this morning, and Tom, you don't know this, but I use vitamin D and vitamin E and the other on my head afterwards, and it creates a sheen, and it's bright.
Yeah, that's somewhere between a Martin and a Charlie in terms of the sheen.
Ah, you like that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, when I grow it out, it's Martin because there's gray. I assume Charlie, with the lifestyle he's lived, is pretty great.
Well, he glows, man. He's radioactive.
Yeah. He's got issues. But got to wear a hat for half the time. Go outside, about die. Given the fact that these days it takes 5 minutes. I have to be like you on the golf course. For those that don't know, Tom he's all the way Irish when it comes to that. If you're outside for 30 seconds, he's got to spray down. It doesn't matter if it's pitch black if we're on the golf course. And I get it. You're protecting your skin, and you've had skin problems, so I get it. But my head's become like your body. where if the sun sees it for 5 minutes, like
Well, okay, so I grew up obviously on the golf course, and I had base tans. Like I was very colorful.
Yeah.
With the base tan that I built, it was kind of ridiculous with my left hand being,
Right.
as bright as it gets because it's my glove hand. But it cost me a lot of money later in life to build that base tan.
Yeah.
So
Chopped you up.
thousands of dollars for being chopped up after my
It got
medical
you
bills.
good, man. That was impressive, man.
So
that's.
Oh, it's not done. I probably need another one on my other arm. So at that point, it's either two colors, man. I'll either be lobster pink, right?
Yeah.
Or I will be as Anglo as it gets. So I use SPF Anglo when I go on the golf
gotta
course.
get
It's
after
100 plus.
Yeah, 100. Yeah.
I'm not spent. No. Listen, it's affecting my bottom line in a ridiculous way.
Well, it also just sucks to be cut on. Nobody wants to be cut on. So, I mean, of any kind, it's just, you're trying to avoid that. So I get it. It's funny. We talked a little bit about today earlier about commitments for Florida State and recruiting and the Jordan Eubanks kid. I'll tell the story because out over the weekend, a couple of things here. Obviously, a very tumultuous time throughout the country and even in our community. And so, it's like everybody's, you got the combination of social unrest and real tension in the air at all times right now, coupled with the fear still stemming from COVID-19. And so you combine all this stuff, and yet in certain communities, certainly in Leon County, there's an ease back into the way of life pre-COVID. So meaning that they're opening restaurants from 25% to 50%. And, there's more, you can tell just driving around. There's more people out on the road. So I certainly want to lend my support, not only do business with the people who do business with us, but, I like diversity. I'm a big fan of having choices. I like diversity in anything, really, whether it's food or music or people, whatever it is, right? You want things to be diversified. So I'm trying to hit every restaurant I can, but also trying to be safe and be smart, and also just be mindful of, what's going on around me. And I went into two different places yesterday, I should say, and it was interesting because one of the places I went, Tom, was a taco place off of Gaines. And I've not
off of Gaines?
Yeah, back where the old station was. There's a new taco place.
Yeah.
Well, it's new to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's not new. Mm-hmm. And I can't even remember the name. It's like the Iron Chicken or the Chicken. I don't even know the name of it. But I wanted to go somewhere. I wanted to see what was going on at Florida State University and at Florida A&M University. And I wanted to get out of the house and see what was happening. I wanted to see the marches. I wanted to see everything, but also be safe and be smart. Obviously, there have been some unfortunate incidents in some of these situations, and one over the weekend here in Tallahassee. And so dumbass runs his truck into people. So, you're always looking around, and I had my wife with me, so I'm always, you're instantly kind of guarding and all that. But I also want to see how things are transpiring, how the interaction between the community and the police are going. And I got to see a little bit, and this isn't, I also wanted to eat some tacos, but I got to see an awesome interaction. I got to watch the police do a wonderful job of protecting the peaceful protesters who went on the march, and I got to see the route, and I got to see the police kind of usher them along, and there were no problems, and it was great. And I got to eat tacos outside while I did it. You can't beat it. Well, oddly, in the midst of that atmosphere, right, where you're, there's a charged energy, there's a feel, right, and it's a weighty deal, and you know it. I'm sitting there eating this taco, which was delicious, and Christy's eating hers, and we're watching the march take place off of Railroad, or it came down to Railroad. And this guy comes up to order. He's on his bike, and he comes up to order a taco. And I'm like, all right, yeah, you need some sustenance. You gotta get some food in you. He gets the taco. He looks at me. Now I'm an old white guy. I'm 48 years old. I'm very aware that I probably stand out in this situation, and I'm just kind of like, how you doing? And he turns and he goes, "What's with all the 3 stars?" In the middle of a march. This kid, he's 21 years old, I'm guessing, rides his bike to get a taco while he's marching and then looks at me and goes, "What's with all 3 stars?" It's like, this is awesome. This is great. It couldn't end any better than that, right? So I go, "Excuse me." I was caught off guard. I expected there to be a very serious conversation about to take place. And instead, he's asking me about why we're recruiting so many 3-star players. And I proceeded to say that, well, we haven't won any games in a while. It's kind of a problem to convince 5-star athletes who have offers from Georgia and Clemson and, Alabama in the region, to say yes to Florida State right now, even with the new coaching staff and even with the cachet, because really this coaching staff got screwed. And we know that. And they haven't really been able to put their stamp. They've talked and they've said what they're going to do. And we have tiny examples, small examples, not just a handful of examples of what their ideas are and what they want kids to buy into. But if you're a big-time recruit, you don't know that. You haven't been able to visit here in all likelihood. You haven't been out to the practices. You don't know. And the coaches haven't really been able to come see you. And so I was kind of explaining that. And he was like, well, I mean, gosh, people seem to flock to Georgia when Kirby got there. Yeah, but Georgia was not as bad off as we are. Also, I would argue that Kirby took what he learned from Nick, and I'm talking all of what he learned behind the scenes.
At the state government level, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And implemented it. And financially, Florida State's just not in that place. And that's the stark reality, is that we don't have the money that a lot of the schools that desperately want to win in football and are willing to do what it takes to win in football from the jump. We don't have that right now.
Well, I've got good news for you, buddy. A windfall is coming because this stadium's going to be full of... Oh, well.
Right.
I don't know where it's coming from.
Sure. So I kind of talked about that, but that wasn't the only time that question was brought up this weekend. I was also out on the deck at Gordo's, and I went by there and see my friend Eddie and see all the fine folks at Northside Gordo's that I've missed and ordered some food to go and had a margarita. It was a little hot for my taste outside, but, we're out there. It's plenty of space.
You say the margarita was hot. They said it was hot?
No. The conditions around us were, due to the climate, very, very hot. But I feel comfortable sitting out there on that deck, being spaced apart from people, and they are doing a good job of spacing people out and allowing you to feel comfortable as you sit back and enjoy your food and drinks, whatever it might be. And I was out there, a mutual friend of ours, Eggers, and I were kind of having a conversation, hanging out. And same thing. Guy walks by, he's like, "Hey, Jeff." I'm like, "Hey." And then he turns and was like, "Man, we sure are compiling a lot of 3-star kids." I just don't know, what people are expecting. I'm not going to, and now listen, if we get into this next year, this next cycle, and we're still steady recruiting 2- and 3-star developmental players as the norm, I'll be a little concerned that they're not making inroads. They're not connecting with the people and the schools and the coaches that they need to connect to in order to draw and elicit a response from 4- and 5-star kids on a consistent basis. But right now, I can't. I got to put trust in. You talk a lot about development. Both of us have talked about the need to do that, getting players, developing them, and he's got a track record of doing it. I also have to put some faith in the fact that you don't win 3 straight conference titles and have the success that he did without being able to project talent.
Yep.
So, to me, if you're looking at Jordan Eubanks and you say, okay, well, he's a linebacker, he's 6'3", he's 210, he's in high school. I mean, he's going to be 225 before you know it. He's projecting width, length, speed, athleticism, size, weight, all of that. I got to believe that he knows what he's looking at. But it's difficult right now to get an awful lot of yeses from people who are in situations where they have choices like Clemson.
Well, and just also understand where we are as a world right now when you're just talking about COVID, sticking to the COVID thing, and the inactivity that comes with COVID. This is the most scrutinized, I think, the recruiting process has ever been in late May, early June. Because there's no other news to consume with Florida State.
Yeah.
Other than, hey, they're working out today. Great. That's awesome. And it speaks to some, good things moving forward. Indicators that football is going to be back. But that ain't exactly something that you can talk about for 20 straight minutes.
No, I mean, I am energized and enthused by what we have interacted with and learned about this coaching staff. And, you and I have been fortunate to have multiple lunches with the staff. And I've had more than a few conversations, a couple of them three of them on the air, and then a couple private, amongst other journalists and media types with Mike Norvell. And I do come away impressed every time. So I am energized by that. I am excited about that. And there are some things I can glean from that. But you're right. Until we get out there and start practicing and seeing the development happen before our eyes and play games, and we still don't even know necessarily how that's going to look, if that's going to happen. It feels like it's going to happen. But in what time frame, what context, away games are they going to exist in terms of what's on our schedule currently? The West Virginia game in Atlanta, is that going to even be played? The Boise game, don't know. We don't know. There are a lot of unanswered questions. So, I'm as excited as I can be without tangible, and visible growth, without being able to see those things. By the way, the kid Eubanks that I'm referencing, recruited by Arkansas, Michigan State, Colorado, Pitt, Arizona. Pitt has a nice defense. I like that if Pitt's evaluating defensive players, they're really one of the best defensive clubs in the ACC. So, okay. Now, do we have to ascend beyond Pitt and all of the teams on the list I just alluded to that he had offers from? Oh, well, yeah. We're Florida State. We're not Michigan State, Pitt, Colorado, Arizona, Arkansas. All slappies compared to Florida State when we're right.
But that's who we are right now.
But that's exactly right, Tom. That's who Florida State has been for going on 4 years. It's hard to say that out loud. It's hard to admit those sorts of things. We are those programs. We haven't been as good as some of those programs. Ouch. Damn it, man.
And it's not a one-off.
Right.
Yeah, it's a trend.
That's the answer, by the way. So if you're one of those guys or any of the guys that I talked to this weekend that keep thinking, well, are we going to hear a 5-star guy say yes at some point or a 4-star guy? Just think of us right now, sadly, not historically, but right now, as we are currently constructed, as we are presently. Just think of us as Pitt.
I prefer to think about something else. The fact that in the throes of a very serious matter and protest, sports still are a conversation starter.
Yeah, how about that, right? How great was that? My wife cracked up about that, too. She's like, I thought that guy was going to ask you something serious.
Well, I'm sure the tone sounded serious if you didn't know the context.
Yeah.
If I don't care about sports one bit and I'm at the counter of the taco shop and I just took the order, I go, why is he aggressively asking that man a question? What's going on here?
Yeah.
3-star what?
Yeah.
We're talking about military?
What's happening here?
Generals?
Yeah. No, it was interesting because I was prepared to have any conversation that the person would have wanted to have, right? I mean, I'm okay with that. But I didn't know what to expect, and it was a football-related question. I'm like, yeah, there you go. That's what you are, buddy. You're here to answer people's questions about a 2-star.
That's what you do.
That's what you do. But it's important. Clearly, it's important to that guy.
Yeah. Sir, I'll talk to you about whatever you'd like. 3 stars.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I got this over here handled. I'll do the march and the protesting and all the stuff that I need to do. But I need to talk to you about some football. What the hell's going on here? Yeah. It's funny because that made me smile a little bit as we left the taco stand. Okay. It was good. And that place is delicious, and it made me miss the old station because I could walk there every day and get tacos if we were at the old station. This place is much better. The infrastructure is much better. We're probably not breathing in asbestos the way that we were. Our lives are not being shortened every day that we enter that building the way we used to. But we don't have taco places right by us the way that place is.
And I can tell you the number one thing I can't stand about this place compared to the old one. You know what it is. The air conditioning in this side of the studio. It was glorious at the old place.
Well, I got screwed at the old place, so.
We had 2 ground level, foot level
vents.
vents.
Yeah, right there. I sat in the other room burning the hell up.
The shoe is on the other foot now.
Yeah, I know.
Hot as hell in
here.
here.
I really feel for you.
Sure you do. During headlines you do.
I do. When I'm in there, I'm like, oh, I don't know how they do it. We got good young Matthew back today, Director Matthew, doing his thing back there. I wonder if he's burning up here at the end of the show. Has he forgotten what it's like to feel the heat?
He doesn't have the clergyman's collar, but I think I'm going to start calling him Father Matthew.
Good work, Matthew. Good work, Tom. Thanks for listening to all of you. Be well, be kind, and we'll talk again soon. I'm going to take tomorrow off. I got to drive to Georgia. My son's birthday is on Tuesday, and we're going to celebrate up there at his granddad's house, and we come back. We'll be live with you on Wednesday. So just a day off tomorrow. Let you know about that. Jeff Cameron Show back Wednesday. Remember that. We'll talk to you then. Be well. Talk to you later.